Chapter 3374. Luli left in a low-key way. Most warriors of the Yun family didn't even know he was gone, not to mention those in the city. Luli left the city by teleportation formation and went to a post at the east. This was arranged by Yunyu. Yunyu also gave Luli a map of the eastern region, which was the latest and most detailed one. This place was close to the eastern region. Every year, the Yun family would send many scouts and spies to report back on the situation at the eastern region. The Yun family was considerate, which made Luli more grateful. Yun Zhongyue was good to him and thought highly of him. Luli had always been a grateful man. He would always remember the kindness of the Yun family. Luli went into hiding as soon as he left the post. What happened a year ago was so serious. Not only did Duan and I die, but some saint kings of the Yun family were also killed. Yun Zhongtian was locked up and removed from his position as a patriarch. Therefore, some warriors of the Yun family must be resentful. Yun Zhongtian and his family must hate Luli to death. They wouldn't come openly, but they would do something behind the scenes. The higher-ups of the Yun family would not be able to stop them. Also, the Duan family had lost a patriarch and was humiliated by the Yun family. They must be furious. They didn't dare to fall out with the Yun family, but they could hunt down Luli. Patriarch of Law Enforcement asked Luli to leave secretly out of concern. Luli left stealthily and only took a break after he traveled for thousands of miles. He took a look at the map, planned his route, and moved on. As long as he avoided a few devil lairs, even if the old devils in those devil lairs left, there would definitely be new old devils to occupy them. Those devil lairs were very good grotto heavens and blessed lands. There were many warriors and immortal beasts along the way. But Luli had been using the trace of the great Tao. His senses were sharp, so he could avoid them easily. As soon as there was any sign of trouble, he would leave and take a detour. Several days later, Luli was relieved. There shouldn't be any pursuers, or they would have caught up by now. He let Zixi out. Zixi senses were better than his. With Zixi's help, Luli could feel much more relaxed. As he expected, in the next more than a dozen days, Luli ran into many warriors and immortal beasts. But Zixi could find them easily. The Qianya family was close to the world and their senses were amazing. Every 10 days or so, Zixi would be mentally exhausted and would need to rest. Luli had to put her into his interspatial artifact and then move on by himself. Although it was said that they were in a hurry, there were actually no roads. These were all mountains and ridges, and there were no martial artists cultivating there at all. Martial artists who could survive in the immortal realm were not weak. They all knew how to fly, so there was naturally no meaning in building roads. Luli had been flying close to the mountain so that he wouldn't be a big target. If he were to fly at a high altitude, he would be easily detected by the ferocious beasts and immortal beasts. Luli was lucky this time. He didn't run into any danger for more than 2 months. He didn't know how far he had traveled. If everything went well, it would take him at most 1.5 years to reach the city of Mystic Armor. Lu Xiaobai was still in the Mystic Armor city. Although he was fighting with the son of a realm king in the north, it was only the forces below him that were fighting. He didn't show up. It was said that he was in seclusion. Luli secretly prayed that Lu Xiaobai wouldn't run around. He didn't want Lu Xiaobai to go to the battlefield in the north after he went through so much trouble to get to the city of Mystic Armor. If that happened, Luli would be exhausted to death. The peaceful days came to an end after 3 days. When Luli was passing by a mountain, he didn't notice anything unusual. However, as Luli was passing by, a ray of brown light suddenly shot out from the mountain. The light expanded and enveloped Luli in. Zixi was still asleep. Luli immediately released the dragon transformation and sensed around, ready to enter the Dharma realm at any time. This time, he sensed carefully and finally found something unusual. There was a formation in the mountain, and deep inside the formation, there was the breath of dead spirit. He looked around and saw many skeletons scattered on the mountain. This was a common situation in the immortal realm, but at this moment it felt unusual. Ha ha! A cold and strange laughter rang out. That voice seemed to be drifting over from the heavens. It was very ethereal. After laughing for a while, the laughter continued. Boy, now that you have entered my life and death formation, you should give up struggling. Become my slave and I will grant you eternal life. The voice was still ethereal, but it didn't come from the sky. It seemed to be coming from thousands of miles underground. Luli snorted, "Stop playing tricks. Come out and fight me." Luli released a hand seal. A huge silver dragon smashed at the mountain. If it were an average mountain, the dragon would have smashed a deep hole in it. However, the entire mountain only trembled a little. Some dust flew up from the surface. Otherwise, it was not damaged. The entire mountain had a powerful formation. It was not easy for Luli to crack it with a casual attack. That cold voice came again. "Punk, you want to crack my formation of life and death? Ridiculous. Since you are so stubborn, then go to hell." As soon as the voice finished speaking, the entire mountain glowed again. Then, a cave appeared in the mountain. Many skeletons walked out. The skeletons all had a black glare. Their eyes were green and there was a black liquid on their bones. Clearly, there was poison. Roar, roar, all kinds of skeletons swarmed over. They bounced up from the ground. They were so fast that they reached Luli in an instant. Luli waved his claws and scratched at the skeletons. As for the poison on the skeletons, he didn't care. Boom! Luli's claws were sharp. Average Saint Kings could tear them apart easily. The skeletons could not stand it and were crushed by Luli. The skeletons fell down and turned into bones. However, after the bones fell down, they automatically reassembled themselves. Another skeleton came charging at Luli. Soon, Luli was surrounded by a dense crowd of skeletons. No matter how fast he was, the skeletons were growing faster than him. There were more coming out from the cave. Luli did not panic. He increased his strength. Every time he attacked, he could crush a skeleton into dust so that they could not reassemble. He wanted to see how many skeletons there were for him to kill. Hiss, hiss, the monster underground once again let out a creepy cry. In my life and death array, the dead spirits are endless. Moreover, the more you attack, the greater the impact on your soul. It won't be long before you become a lunatic. Punk, you have a good body. I will turn your body into a corpse king. By then, I will have one more warrior. Ha ha ha. Luli snorted and dashed downward. When he was underground, Blood Fairy snuck out from his body and went underground without a sound. If he could crack the formation, not only could he leave, but he could also drag out the Asmodean underground and tear him apart. Chapter 3375. There was a certain risk for Blood Fairy to enter. What if the old demon lurking underground used a magic circle to strangle Blood Fairy? However, if Luli could not break the formation, he would not be able to find the old freak or kill him, let alone leave. He told Blood Fairy to be careful and come out as soon as she sensed danger. After all, the skeletons could not kill him for the time being. There were many skeletons and they were fast, but their attacks were weak. The skeletons mainly relied on poison. Luli, on the other hand, was not afraid of poison. No matter how strong the poison was, he could absorb it into his dantian. "Master, don't worry," Blood Fairy quickly replied. "The spell formation in this mountain is very complicated. I will hide in it. As long as the spell formation is not broken, he will not be able to attack me. If the spell formation is broken, I will come out immediately." Luli was relieved. Blood Fairy was a soul. As long as the demon did not have strong soul attacks, he could not hurt her. She could blend in with the formation. It would be hard for her to attack the demon. Luli continued to fight against the skeletons. At the same time, he attacked the mountain to distract the demon. Luli could not tell if the demon had noticed Blood Fairy. He had been silent. But the skeletons kept coming out. Moreover, the skeletons that came out were a bit stronger. Each of the skeletons that came out was shining with a dark gold light, and their auras were terrifying. Every time a skeleton waved its claws, there would be a shrill noise that could crack rocks. Half an hour passed, and Blood Fairy spoke again. Master, this formation isn't complicated. I'll be able to break it in another hour. Be prepared then. There is a pool down there filled with poison. The demon is in there and the skeletons came out from there. Luli was confident. While he was attacking, he was ready to release thunderous attacks at any time. An hour later, the demon finally felt something was off. He shouted, "Punk, you are secretly cracking the formation? You are courting death." Swish, swish. The entire mountain trembled. Following that, a dark air began to rise. Luli was about to ask when Blood Fairy said, "Master, don't worry. He is just releasing some toxic air. It will not affect me. I am about to crack the formation." Luli began to move his claws. He crushed the incoming skeletons one by one. Even if the skeletons were several times stronger, he would still be able to crush them easily. His claws could easily rip through mid-Saint Kings right now. He could even rip through Saint armaments and armors. His physical body was already very strong, but he had reconstructed it in the eye of destruction. His current physical body was formed from top-grade immortal fruits, destructive energy, and large amounts of origin energy. His current physical body was equivalent to a heavenly treasure or a divine embryo. It was at least 10 times stronger than his previous physical body. "Master, we are cracking," Blood Fairy said. Then, Blood Fairy dashed out in a blur. Luli consumed a drop of purple divine liquid at once. Afterward, he scanned the area with his powerful senses and locked onto an old demon lurking in the pool. He sensed the demon and discovered that he was only a late Saint King, so he sneered. Luli had guessed that this demon was not very close to the Absolute Realm. If he was, he would have smashed Luli to death. Why would he need to resort to such sneaky tricks? After Luli consumed the purple divine liquid, his soul became 10 times stronger. He released his formation skills. Streaks of powerful soul attacks swarmed in and entered the old man's mind in an instant. As expected, with the purple divine liquid, Luli could kill any Saint King at the later stage of the Saint Realm, or one that was very close to the Absolute Realm. Making sure that the demon's soul was sealed, Luli dashed into the mountain. Using his claws, he cracked the mountain open. Without the protection of the formation, the mountain was no different from mud to Luli. He dashed into the pond. The pond was filled with poison, but it was not a problem for Luli. The swirl in the Dharma field spun and the poison was sucked in. Luli grabbed the demon's head. He was going to crush it in the next second. Perhaps, under the threat of death, the demon came to his senses. He sensed a fatal danger and knew that he would die the next second. He yelled at once, "Lord, please spare my life. Anything is negotiable as long as you don't kill me." Luli was surprised. He decided not to kill the demon. He said coldly, "I will give you 3 sentences. Convince me and give me a reason not to kill you." Luli's soul was weak, but he could consume 2 drops of purple divine liquid. Also, as soon as he moved his claws, the demon would die in an instant. Luli had the trace of Tao. Nothing the demon did could escape Luli's detection. The demon sensed the strong killing intent from Luli. He knew that Luli was not joking. The demon pondered for the time for half an incense stick to burn before he said, "Lord, I am willing to give you all my wealth." Luli sneered, "Ha, when you are dead, everything you have will be mine." The demon thought about it and said again, "Lord, I can tell you about a peerless treasure ground. Only I know of that place. It is very likely to be a place where a warrior at the consummate realm ascends to immortality. I am not strong enough, so I can only explore the periphery." Luli still sneered and said, not interested. Besides, who knows if it is a treasure ground or a dangerous place? The demon smiled bitterly. He knew what Luli wanted. This time, he pondered for the time for half an incense stick to burn and said, "Lord, I can serve you for 100 years. Of course, if I encounter a fatal danger, allow me to escape and return my freedom." Luli nodded slightly and said, "No need for 100 years. Just serve me for 10 years. Maybe not even 10 years. If there is a fatal danger, I can let you go. But you must give me your seal of soul, or else I will not believe you." Seal of soul? The demon was startled and then immediately realized. His face turned gloomy. He thought about it and said, "Lord, you are not trying to trick me, are you? My soul is under your control. If you don't let me go, won't I be under your control forever?" "Ha ha!" Luli sneered and said, "I can kill you in an instant. Do you think I will like you? You are neither a human nor a ghost. It is degrading for me to take you with me all the time. If you are still worried, I will make an almighty blood oath. If you say any more nonsense, you can go to hell." "Okay, fine." The demon bit his teeth. 10 years was too short a time. Luli also had powerful abilities. It would not be shameful to follow Luli. Following Luli's instructions, the demon condensed the seal of soul and sent it into Luli's head. Luli integrated the demon's seal of soul and only let go of the demon when there was a spiritual connection with him. He said in a cold voice, "Pack up and come with me. I am going to the city of mystic armor. When we get there, I will set you free." City of mystic armor. The demon smiled bitterly and said carefully, "Lord, it is hundreds of millions of miles to the city of mystic armor. There will be many dangers along the way. Are you sure you want to go to the city of mystic armor?" "Cut the bullshit." Luli glanced at the demon and said, "If it were not for the fact that you have the means to control the undead and entangle the enemy at the critical moment, do you think I would spare your life?" Chapter 3376. The old freak had forgotten his own name. He called himself the Ghost Taoist. He collected all the venom in the pond and many bones in the pond. Luli was shocked. There were at least billions of bones in the pond. How many corpses did the Ghost Taoist collect? After the Ghost Taoist collected all the corpses, Luli left with him. The Ghost Taoist's speed was not bad. After traveling for a while, he released Zishi. Zishi didn't care too much about the addition of the old freak in the team. She just asked Luli a few questions and then left it alone. The Ghost Taoist was also surprised that Luli suddenly let out a little girl. The more they went, the more surprised he became. Zishi had a horrifying intuition. She could tell if there were enemies, ferocious beasts or immortal beasts ahead. Under the guidance of Zishi, the journey was very safe. They didn't run into any warriors or powerful immortal beasts for 3 days. On the 4th day, something even more surprising happened to the Ghost Taoist. Because a group of warriors was fighting on the left, Luli was forced to fly to the right. Unfortunately, there was an immortal beast lurking there. The Ghost Taoist thought that Luli and Zishi would take a detour, but they just flew over. When the Ghost Taoist was about to make a move, Zishi suppressed the immortal beast easily. Luli didn't even look at the immortal beast. He was calm from beginning to end. There was a young man with extraordinary fighting abilities and a cute little girl. The young man was only at the Emperor realm on the surface, but his comprehensive abilities were very close to the consummate realm. The little girl looked weaker, but not only did she have strong senses, she could even suppress the horrifying immortal beast easily. The fighting ability of this immortal beast could be compared to a powerful warrior that was very close to the consummate realm. The Ghost Taoist suddenly couldn't see through this world. He had lived for more than 100,000 years and basically spent all his time in the immortal region. He was experienced and knowledgeable. This was the first time he had seen such a strange situation. Zishi went back to rest after half a month. Luli took the Ghost Taoist forward. He was a little faster than the Ghost Taoist. But his speed was not fast, so the Ghost Taoist could easily keep up. The Ghost Taoist was amazed by Zishi's horrifying probing ability. Lu Li's ability was much stronger than the Ghost Taoist's. The Ghost Taoist wondered if he had been living like a dog all these years. The journey was still very smooth. Although they occasionally encountered immortal beasts, they were all easily suppressed by Zishi. The Ghost Taoist had thought that Lu Li would need his help along the way. Little did he know that Lu Li had been following Lu Li and doing nothing. It was more like Lu Li was protecting him. It wasn't that he hadn't traversed through the immortal realm before, especially in the eastern region. He had stayed here for 100,000 years, and he understood the dangers here all too well. He had never traveled as easily as Lu Li did. After another 17 days, Lu Li and the others were forced to stop because there was a chaotic battle ahead. It was not a battle between several warriors or two forces, but a battle between dozens of forces. When Lu Li and the others sensed that there was a battle up ahead, they wanted to go around it. However, after they went around for a while, they realized that the battle was still going on. Then, Lu Li continued to take a detour and found that there was still a chaotic battle ahead. "Master, can I go and have a look?" The Ghost Taoist found that he hadn't made any contributions along the way, so he volunteered. Lu Li frowned and said, "There are so many powerful warriors up ahead. What if you get involved in the battle?" "I don't have to do it myself," the Ghost Taoist said with pride. "I can control undead spirits, so I don't have to do it myself. I can control some undead spirits to do it. Also, I can control those dead bodies and sense the situation nearby through them." "Okay, off you go." Lu Li waved his hand and the Ghost Taoist floated out. He was gone for more than a day before he came back like a ghost. He reported what he found to Lu Li. There were dozens of forces fighting in a chaotic battle. Smoke was rising from the battle. There were battlefields everywhere and there were massacres everywhere. The scope of the battle could not be seen at all. The only thing was that it was huge. Dozens of forces fighting in a chaotic battle? Lu Li was confused. There must be a reason for the battle, right? It is understandable that a few forces are going crazy, but it is hard to understand why dozens of forces are going crazy together and fighting in a chaotic battle. "I think this is the reason," the Ghost Taoist explained. "There are 3 super forces in this world. The rest of the forces are affiliated to the 3 forces. The 3 forces are all fighting for a treasured land, so they order their subordinate forces to fight for it. Gradually, it has become a chaotic battle between dozens of forces. The battle has been going on for more than half a year. How long will it take to go around?" Lu Li asked with a frown. "Maybe it will take another half a year," the Ghost Taoist said, "but there are many battles in the immortal region. Maybe when we go around, there is a battle going on there as well. Do we have to keep going around? What about before?" Lu Li squinted at the Ghost Taoist and said, "Don't you often travel around the eastern region? How did you go across such an area before?" "Master," the Ghost Taoist said, "if there is a chaotic battle, I don't dare to move. I will go back and find a place to hide. I have sneaked through the center of the battlefield several times, but I almost died many times. In the middle of the battlefield." Lu Li touched his nose and said, "There are so many powerful warriors who are infinitely close to the consummate realm. It is a miracle that you can survive until now." "No," the Ghost Taoist laughed, but his old, ugly, and tattooed face made him look especially scary. He said, "Warriors who are infinitely close to the peak level basically won't attack us. Even if they find us, we'll just ignore them. Powerful warriors of this level will not lower themselves to attack average Saint Emperors unless it is a special case." "Well, that is true," Lu Li nodded. It seemed to make sense. It was the same in the battle at the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries. Powerful warriors infinitely close to the consummate realm would not attack saint emperors and average warriors unless there was a special case. It would be a disgrace to their status. Lu Li's eyes flickered. He thought for a while and said, "So, you suggest that I go through this battlefield directly?" The ghost Taoist didn't answer. He cupped his fists and said, "I am just telling you the situation. Master, please decide for yourself. I don't have the guts to say anything." Lu Li thought about it. This was the real Eastern region, right? There would be more and more situations like this. Would he have to keep going around? Would he have to go around the entire Eastern region? Go! Lu Li made up his mind. He had the stealth skill. As long as warriors infinitely close to the consummate realm did not attack him, then he would be safe. If he could not do it, then he would enter the Dharma realm. A warrior must have the courage to face death. If he did not even have the courage to face death, then what was he doing in the immortal region? Wouldn't it be better for him to go back to the chaotic star region and live a simple life? Let's go. Lu Li waved his hand and led the ghost Taoist into the Dharma realm. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, hundreds of warriors were fighting. The sky was torn apart. The battle was fierce. Third Master. Chapter 3377. Lu Li put Zixi away. When he was close to the battlefield, he asked, "Do you have stealth skills of your own? If there isn't, then I'll take you away. My art of concealment is infinitely close to that of a martial artist below the consummate level." The ghost Taoist was doubtful. Lu Li didn't show any stealth abilities before. Therefore, the ghost Taoist was wondering if Lu Li was bluffing. Lu Li was not giving an order. After some hesitation, the ghost Taoist said, "Master, I have some stealth skills of my own. How about I take a walk? If I can't do it, can you take me away?" "Sure." Lu Li didn't want to waste time. If the ghost Taoist was besieged, Lu Li would save him if he could. If not, Lu Li wouldn't do anything. The ghost Taoist was courting death. Lu Li was not a savior. Lu Li suddenly vanished. The ghost Taoist was taken aback. He used psychic power to check the surroundings, but he could not find Lu Li's exact location. Luckily, he had a spiritual connection with Lu Li, so he knew Lu Li was nearby. It was just that he could not find Lu Li. God! This time, the ghost Taoist was completely convinced. Lu Li was not bluffing. He did have incredible skills. An idea came to his mind. Was Lu Li a young master of a super family? Otherwise, how could he have such horrifying abilities at such a young age and so many skills? The ghost Taoist regretted. He should have asked Lu Li to take him away. Now that he had said what he wanted, he was too embarrassed to beg Lu Li. A dark glare came out from the ghost Taoist. Then he was enveloped by the dark haze. Gradually, the haze dispersed and so did the ghost Taoist. Lu Li was standing next to him. He sensed carefully and nodded. The ghost Taoist's stealth skill was not bad. Lu Li could only faintly sense the air of death. This was a battlefield. Too many warriors had passed away. Without careful observation, the ghost Taoist's qi and energy could not be sensed. "Stay close," Lu Li said. The ghost Taoist had a rough idea of where Lu Li was. It seemed that Lu Li had strengthened the spiritual connection between them on purpose so the ghost Taoist could sense Lu Li's location clearly. Lu Li floated forward. He sneaked to the edge of the battlefield. He didn't even dare to check the situation. He just used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings. As long as there were no martial artists nearby, he would not care. He would just move stealthily. "Master," the ghost Taoist suddenly said to Lu Li, "try to stay close to the corpses. I can use the air of death to hide us." "Okay." Lu Li nodded. He tried to stay as close to the corpses as he could. As he expected, the qi and energy of the corpses became stronger. It might be able to cover up his qi and energy. "You are good." Lu Li nodded. There must be a reason why the ghost Taoist could survive in the eastern region for so many years. Luli and the ghost Taoist walked through the center of the battlefield one after the other. Taoist and Taoist. Lian Shi In and Luli and the Taoist. Lian the Shi's ghost were. Luli and the ghost Taoist were like two loaches, moving quickly in the quagmire of the battlefield. The average warriors could not see them. As for the warriors close to the absolute completion, they were either fighting in the sky or staying here. Nobody paid attention to Luli and the ghost Taoist. Maybe some warriors close to the absolute completion did see them but didn't do anything. After all, Luli and the ghost Taoist were not assassinating. They were just sneaking around. Just like that, Luli and the ghost Taoist left the battlefield without a hitch. They were on tenterhooks along the way. They both sensed that some warriors close to the absolute completion had sensed them. Fortunately, they didn't do anything. Luli and the ghost Taoist stopped after they walked past the battlefield. They didn't rest for long, fearing that the battlefield would shift to them. They moved on after the time for one incense stick to burn. However, after 4 hours, they found themselves in another battlefield. Just as I thought. Luli sighed. There were battlefields everywhere in this damn place. Luckily, they didn't take detours. Otherwise, they would have been wasting their time if there were battles everywhere. Let's go. Luli moved on. He realized that the ghost Taoist's energy of death was of some use. At least, it made Luli and the ghost Taoist look like wretched thieves. Warriors close to the absolute completion of the battlefield would not bother to attack them. The two entered the battlefield. Again, they walked along the edge of the battlefield. At first, everything went well. None of the warriors noticed them, and no powerful warriors attacked them. However, after traveling for an hour, a few beams of light suddenly shot toward them. They weren't being attacked on purpose, but rather, a few Saint Emperors had been chasing a Saint Emperor, and had just happened to be flying in their direction. Unfortunately for them, the Saint Emperor dynasty hadn't been able to stop them. Take care of yourself, Luli said. Then, he entered the realm of magic. He could survive the attacks, but he would be exposed. He would be hunted down by a group of warriors. If he fought back, he might attract the attention of warriors close to the absolute completion of the realm of magic, which would be troublesome. Therefore, Luli believed he could hide in the realm of magic and come out later. Then, he could sneak away. As soon as he entered the Dharma realm, the ghost Taoist felt that he had suddenly lost his spiritual connection with him. The ghost Taoist was secretly surprised. He didn't have time to think too much at the moment. He waved his hands, and many of the nearby corpses rolled up to cover him. Then, he burrowed into the ground. Boom! Those corpses were blasted away, and many of them were blasted into pieces. Some of these corpses were Saint Emperors, and they were very tough, so not many of the shockwaves hit the ghost Taoist. The ghost Taoist's fighting strength was also very strong. This kind of attack was nothing to him. The ghost Taoist was discovered, especially when he used his corpse to block the attack. This angered the two Saint Emperors. Two of them immediately charged underground to kill the ghost Taoist. The ghost Taoist didn't dare to start a fight. He rushed out of the ground. His body emitted a black corpse chi. His speed reached the extreme, madly fleeing into the distance. The more he acted like this, the more conspicuous he became. At that moment, many Saint Emperors in front of him started to obstruct him. The ghost Taoist was bombarded until he cried out and fled pathetically. Luli snuck out after a while. He was amused to see the ghost Taoist being chased by dozens of Saint Emperors. He quickly hid himself and chased after the ghost Taoist. If the ghost Taoist could save him, Luli would lend him a helping hand. If the ghost Taoist was killed, then he wouldn't care so much. After traveling for almost an hour, Luli left the battlefield. The ghost Taoist was still being chased up ahead, but there were only 8 or 9 Saint Emperors chasing after him. There was only one late Saint Emperor among them. It's about time. Luli revealed himself and yelled, "My friends, we're just passing by." There's no need to fight to the death. Let people go when possible. Third Master. Chapter 3378. Now that they were far away from the battlefield, Luli had nothing to worry about. He was just a Saint King at the later stage. If he could not deal with him, then he would have to resort to violence. Ha ha ha. Luli's words made the Saint Kings laugh. An emperor was teaching a bunch of Saint Kings a lesson? They found it hilarious. One of the Saint Kings looked at Luli coldly and said, "Bastard, get down on your knees and call me Grandpa, and I will spare your life. Or else I will skin you. Do you believe me?" "What's the point?" Another Saint King said, "If you don't get down on your knees and call me Grandpa, I will pull out his soul and put it into a beast. He will have to linger in that beast for the rest of his life." Luli snorted. Then, he released the dragon transformation. His chi and energy covered up the sky. Pointing to the two Saint Emperors who were talking, Luli said, "Come on, you two. Skin me and extract my soul." Whoosh! The two Saint Kings were enraged. They were not worried even though Luli had changed his form. They rushed over and attacked Luli from the left and the right. Whoosh! Luli dashed away and fended off the attack from the warrior on the left. At the same time, he reached for the warrior on the right. With two muffled sounds, Luli was cut on his back. Some scales on his back fell off, and there was some blood coming out of it. Apart from that, he was unharmed. The Saint King in front of Luli was in a miserable state. Luli used one of his claws to stop the Saint King's weapon and tore off his arm with the other. The Saint King screamed and was about to run away when Luli's eyes glowed. Then the Saint King stopped moving. Then, Luli's sharp claws reached out and crushed the Saint King's head. The Saint King was stunned. Luli turned around and his eyes glowed. The Saint King could not move anymore. Then, Luli moved and crushed the Saint King's head as well. How, in the time for one breath, Luli had killed two Saint Kings in an instant. The other Saint Kings were taken aback. How could an emperor be so powerful? "Let's work together and kill him first," the late Saint King roared. They stopped chasing the ghost Taoist and returned to kill Luli. However, just as they turned around, they discovered that a thick black fog had emerged from the ground and enveloped them. Following that, countless skeletons rushed out from the ground and madly shot towards them. The ghost Taoist attacked and cooperated with Luli. The skeletons that rushed out from below were not powerful, but they could stall them. Moreover, the black fog was highly toxic. If one stayed in it for too long, they would be poisoned. Shio! Luli charged into the poisonous mist and began a massacre. Only a single late Saint King posed any threat to him. The other Saint Kings posed no threat to him at all. He used the purple godly elixir and locked onto the late Saint King and began attacking. The late Saint King's soul was not too strong. After using the purple godly elixir, the late Saint King would not be able to withstand it. Luli felt that it was not safe, so he used the super divine elixir of destruction when attacking. The super destruction god liquid was formed from the condensation of the power of destruction. Its might was extremely terrifying. The late Saint King was unable to withstand it. His head was directly corroded and he died instantly. Run! The other Saint Emperors were frightened. How were they supposed to fight? Their most powerful warrior had been killed in an instant. If they did not run, their ending would be the same. Woo woo woo! While they were trying to run, more and more skeletons surged out from below, covering an area with a radius of 300 miles. If they wanted to run, they would have to kill their way out. Would Luli give them the chance to do so? If he could kill a late Saint King, he could kill the other Saint Emperors in one move. With the help of the ghost Taoist, Luli killed the remaining Saint Emperors in the time for a few breaths. Go into my interspatial artifact. This time, Luli gave the order directly. The ghost Taoist put away the skeletons at once and then snuck into Luli's interspatial artifact. Luli left quickly. This place was some distance away from the battlefield. However, with so many dead warriors, what if they attracted the attention of a warrior who was infinitely close to the absolute realm? Therefore, after Luli snuck away for thousands of miles, he went into the Dharma realm at once and came out after a few days. He stayed in the Dharma realm with peace of mind. After 4 or 5 days, he sensed the situation outside. It was quiet outside. Luli came out after making sure that it was safe and snuck away. This time, it was a smooth journey. There were no powerful warriors on his trail. Luli had it easy. Half a day later, another battle broke out. Luli moved on from the edge of the battlefield. It was a smooth journey. It took him more than half a day to go across the battlefield. As soon as he left the battlefield, he saw some huge battleships coming. Clearly, they were here to help. Luli hid on the side, keeping a low profile. Right at that moment, a strand of psychic power scanned over Luli's head and then came back to him. Buzzing. Above the void, a hand appeared. A surge of horrifying energy spread out. But the hand did not come down. Instead, it trembled. Then, the space trembled and Luli came out. "Go and take down the spy." A cold voice was heard. The battleship flew on. The hand disappeared, but more than a dozen Saint Emperors came down from the battleship. Almost all of them were at the middle stage of the Saint Emperor and one was at the later stage. "I am not a spy. Lords, don't kill me!" Luli shouted in fear. Then, he used the dragon transformation and ran away at a horrifying speed. Not long after Luli ran away, a ray of sword chi whooshed over and aimed at his back. Boom! Some of the scales on Luli's back were blown off. Blood spilled out. Luli shouted again, "Lords, I am not a spy. Don't kill me!" Boom, boom, boom. What answered Luli were the sounds of attacks. Then, his back was blasted into pieces. It was a horrible sight to look at. He seemed to be badly wounded, but his speed was not affected. Instead, he sped up. In the time for dozens of breaths, Luli had covered hundreds of thousands of miles. Finally, he felt relieved. If that warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm had attacked him, he would have lost his life there. Luli had been wounded all this time. He had pretended to be weak on purpose so that the warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not notice him. Now that he was so far away, the warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not be able to sense what was going on here. Luli had survived. Luli stopped running. He stood where he was. With a glare from his interspatial artifact, the ghost Taoist came out. Luli said with a cold smile, "Did you have a good time just now? Now, it is our turn to let you have fun." Buzzing, the ghost Taoist emitted a dark air that enveloped the space nearby. The ghost Taoist sneered, "You are courting death. How dare you go after my master? You will all stay." Chapter 3379. Of the dozen Saint Kings, 3 were at the late stage and the rest were at the middle stage. But Luli didn't care. Even without the help of the ghost Taoist, he could kill the dozen Saint Kings. Not to mention that the ghost Taoist was also at the late stage and had the help of so many skeletons. The black haze enveloped all the powerful warriors. Countless skeletons came out and surrounded the dozen Saint Kings. The skeletons were not particularly strong, but they had one thing in common: they were poisoned. The more skeletons there were, the harder it would be for Luli to break out of the encirclement. They could be easily separated, allowing Luli to kill them one by one. Luli was not afraid of the poison at all, so there was no suspense. Though he was exhausted, he still killed all the Saint Kings with all his might. The Saint Kings were dumbfounded. Hearing the miserable cries, they felt they had seen ghosts. Luli was only an Emperor Realm warrior. How could he be wounded by them? How could he be so strong all of a sudden? There were Saint Kings dying almost every second. After killing all the Saint Kings, Luli put away the ghost Taoist and fled as fast as he could. He entered the realm of Dharma after running for hundreds of thousands of miles. Luli stayed in the realm of Dharma for a whole month before he came out and continued his journey. He was very careful along the way, fearing that warriors infinitely close to the Absolute Realm would come after him. Fortunately, after a couple of days, Luli didn't see any powerful warriors coming after him. Luli was relieved and pressed on. 3 days later, there was another battle ahead. It was still a tangled battle between 3 forces. Warriors were everywhere, and it was a mess. High up in the sky, there were powerhouses who were infinitely close to the consummate level fighting. Luli moved forward with trepidation, fearing that the powerhouse who was infinitely close to the consummate level would casually release an attack that would instantly kill him. Fortunately, that didn't happen. The warriors infinitely close to the Absolute Realm were fighting fiercely. They didn't care about what was going on down there. Soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals, kings against kings. Why would a group of kings care about the soldiers and generals below? Unless the situation changed drastically, they wouldn't even look. After more than a day, Luli successfully passed through the battlefield. He let Zishi and the Ghost Taoist out. He wanted to rest and let Zishi scout the way and the Ghost Taoist protect him. During this time, he was highly stressed. He was under too much pressure. After 3.5 days, Taoist Ghost suddenly stopped, looked to the left and said, "Master, Flame Emperor Mountain is ahead." What happened to Flame Emperor Mountain? Luli asked with curiosity. He took out the map and took a look. The Flame King Mountain was marked here, and it was marked as a dangerous place. "Master, do you remember the treasure land I mentioned before?" The Ghost Taoist explained. "I once entered the Flame Emperor Mountain and found a very hidden entrance. I suspect that it's a place where a consummate expert ascends to immortality. However, it's too dangerous inside. I can't go deep inside." "So it's here." Luli nodded. The Ghost Taoist did say that in the beginning. Back then, Luli thought the Ghost Taoist was talking nonsense and trying to trick him into going there to die. He didn't expect such a place to really exist. At this moment, the Ghost Taoist didn't dare to lie to him, because if he died, the Ghost Taoist wouldn't be able to live either. Luli thought for a while and said, "Tell me the details." The Ghost Taoist told him everything he knew. After listening, Luli believed the Ghost Taoist's judgment. It was very likely that this was a place where consummate experts ascended to immortality. At the very least, it was a treasure land refined by a consummate expert. However, it was really dangerous inside. Even the Ghost Taoist could only go to the outermost layer. He could sense that there were at least 3 layers inside. If he tried to force his way into the second layer, there was a 70% chance that he would die. He was a late Saint King, but he didn't dare to enter the second layer. Only those infinitely close to consummate could enter. If there was a third layer, then even those infinitely close to consummate could be in danger. Therefore, it was very likely that this was a realm refined by consummate experts. "Never mind, I'm not going." Luli shook his head. This place was too dangerous. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to come out after entering. It was better not to take the risk. His main goal in coming to the immortal region was to find Little White. He was close to his destination now, so he didn't want to complicate matters. "All right." The Ghost Taoist's eyes revealed a trace of lingering fear. He sighed and said, "If you don't reach the realm infinitely close to consummate, it's best not to go in. It is indeed very easy to die inside. It's a pity that we don't have the fortune to enjoy this supreme treasure land. Let's go." Luli didn't have too many regrets. There were so many treasure lands in the immortal region. Everyone wanted to go in and obtain the treasures inside. They all wanted to comprehend the powerful gist of laws and Tao inside. However, they also had to think about their own strength. Not to mention that most warriors couldn't obtain anything inside. There were also countless warriors who died inside. Zishi had been listening all along. After listening, she said, We really shouldn't go in. The entrance that the ghost Taoist said was very hidden is actually not hidden. During this period of time, there are so many forces fighting here. It is impossible not to find it. It was even possible that the reason for these forces to wage war was to fight for this treasure land. If we go in, we will be walking into a trap. Let's go around. Hearing Zishi's words, Luli specially ordered them to go around. If the Flame Emperor Mountain was a treasure land, there must be many powerful warriors there. It would be safer to go around. They went around to the south. After half a day, Zishi's expressions changed. She said, "There are some powerful warriors flying over. Brother Lu, be careful. Go in." Luli put Zishi and the ghost Taoist into the interspatial artifact at once. However, before he could go into the realm of magic, 4 people flew over quickly and arrived here. Luli didn't dare to move. He pretended to be shivering and squatted on the ground, looking up in fear. 3 powerful warriors were chasing one. 4 streaks of psychic power glanced over him. Fortunately, none of the powerful warriors paid attention to him. Soon, the 4 powerful warriors flew to the distance. Luli breathed in relief. Whoosh! When Luli was about to leave, a gust of wind came from the sky behind him. It was aimed at Luli. Luli was taken aback. Was this powerful warrior a pain in the ass? How could he attack a warrior who seemed to be at the Emperor realm? That being said, the attack did not seem to be strong. The warrior must have thought that Luli was really at the Emperor realm. Therefore, the warrior attacked casually, trying to crush Luli like an ant. Luli felt he was being belittled. He mobilized the strange energy in his body and punched. With a horrifying sound of explosion, Luli was smashed away. The hills nearby were flattened as well. Luli was smashed away for thousands of miles. His fist was injured as well. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He regretted it and hoped that the powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm would not be angry. Whoosh! It was too late for him to regret. From behind him came a noise. That powerful warrior had come back. He didn't even go after his enemy. Instead, he was going after Luli. *T, this is too much. Luli complained to himself. He didn't dare to put on a brave front anymore. He didn't think too much. Staying alive was more important. He dashed into the realm of magic and vanished on the spot. Chapter 3380. What? Soon, that powerful warrior came. To his surprise, he had lost sight of Luli. He circled around and then made a brazen move, blasting an area with a radius of thousands of miles. This is strange. The powerful warrior stood in midair. His well-defined face was filled with surprise. This was the first time he had encountered such a strange situation. Just now, he felt something was wrong with Luli, which was why he decided to launch an attack. However, Luli surprised him again and again. He thought for a while and expanded his search range to an area with a radius of thousands of miles. He would not believe it. He would not be happy until he found Luli. Also, Luli had such a strange stealth skill. He might be a high-level enemy scout. Killing Luli would be a good thing for the powerful warrior. He searched an area with a radius of thousands of miles very carefully. At the same time, he mobilized some scouts, but still, he could not find Luli. Half a month later, Luli sneaked out. He could not stay here forever. He had to find a way to leave. It had been more than half a month. That powerful warrior could not still be watching him, could he? So many major powers had been waging war against each other. There are more scouts nearby. Luli sneaked away. He noticed many scouts were searching and hiding nearby. He wondered if they were looking for him. That powerful warrior had not given up on searching for him? Whoosh! From the front left came a noise. Luli dared not to go forward. He sneaked to the back at once. He took a detour and noticed that there were more scouts nearby. The two battleships were loitering around as well. Clearly, they were searching for something. The two battleships probably had powerful warriors that were very close to the consummate realm. Luli was troubled. Was he going to stay in the Dharma realm forever? He would have to wait for a few years. Let me take a look. I will go back to the Dharma realm if I can't make it. Luli sneaked along with caution. He did not dare to go to the east because there was a battleship loitering there. Clearly, the battleship was there to prevent him from going there. Luli was heading to the east. He wanted to go to the north, but there was another battleship there. He had to go to the south. However, after walking for a while, he felt that something was wrong. The Flame Emperor Mountain seemed to be to the south. If he walked in that direction, wouldn't he accidentally enter the Flame Emperor Mountain? Walk around Flame Emperor Mountain? On second thought, Luli snuck toward the Flame King Mountain. After more than a day, he had arrived at the periphery of the Flame King Mountain. What surprised him was that there weren't many experts in Flame Emperor Mountain. Although there were scouts, there were no armies or experts stationed there, and there were no chaotic battles. Pass through the middle of Flame Emperor Mountain. Luli made up his mind. The Flame King Mountain was a mountain range with a width of tens of millions of miles. As long as he could cross this mountain range, it would be difficult for his enemies to hunt him down. Previously, Luli did not like the Flame King Mountain. He just thought that so many forces were here to fight for the treasured land. Now that he realized that was not the case, Luli no longer cared. He sneaked into the Flame King Mountain. Something's wrong. An hour later, Luli was in the deepest part of the Flame King Mountain. All of a sudden, he sensed danger and the presence of a divine pattern formation. He did not have a deep understanding of divine patterns, but Blood Fairy did. Luli had seen many divine patterns and seen Blood Fairy build formations many times. Therefore, he was particularly sensitive to divine patterns. He activated the mark of the Great Path and sensed his surroundings. This place was in ruins. There were collapsed boulders and cracked cornerstones everywhere. In the distance, he could see some stone pillars. It could be seen that this was an extremely prosperous place in the past. There should have been a group of palaces here. Divine patterns. Luli sensed it. He was about to run away when someone spread out and locked onto him. A laugh came to his mind at the same time. Thief, you are good at running. Let's see how you are going to run this time. A powerful warrior that is very close to the consummate level. Luli was taken aback. This powerful warrior was the one that attacked Luli. Luli did not expect that this warrior was here and had been waiting for him. Without any hesitation, Luli vanished on the spot and entered the Dharma realm. A skinny man came out all of a sudden. He waved his hand and said, "Formation activate." Buzzing, the broken roots and broken walls glowed. Following that, a thick dark fog came out and covered up an area with a radius of 3,000 miles. That powerful warrior snorted, "If you can escape from my formation of action, then I will be convinced." Swish, swish. The old warrior did not go looking for Luli. Instead, he waved his hand again. The dark fog shuttled back and forth like sharp swords, covering up the entire space. Countless wisps of black chi were shuttling back and forth inside, tearing the space inside apart. A moment later, the warrior was shocked again. So many sword rays had covered up the entire space in the formation of action, and yet, he could not find Luli. Once again, Luli had disappeared mysteriously. Impossible! The warrior could not believe it. He was sure that there was no violent fluctuation in space just now. Therefore, Luli was not teleporting away. He was just hiding nearby and the warrior could not tell. The thing was, the sword rays in the formation of action had no blind spot. It was impossible for a living being to hide. Even if Luli were to turn into a pebble, he would be attacked by the sword rays and then found. Go on. The warrior could not believe it. He controlled more sword rays to shuttle back and forth. An hour later, the warrior was convinced. Luli seemed to have left this world. He was not in the formation of action. Wait! This supreme expert pondered for a moment before his silhouette vanished from where he stood. The black chi in the surroundings also gradually dissipated, and the divine inscriptions on the ground were no longer activated. Luli had been hiding for more than half a month, but he was still nearby. This indicated that Luli did not leave right away. Therefore, the warrior believed that Luli must be nearby. He wanted to see how long Luli could stay here. The warrior would be willing to wait for a year or two. He really is nearby. Half a month later, the warrior put on a mocking smile. Just now, Luli could not help but use the trace of great doubt to check. Average saint emperors would not be able to tell. But the warrior sensed something was not right. Ha ha! The warrior hid as well. As long as he did not show himself, Luli would not be able to tell where he was. The warrior wanted to have a competition of patience with Luli. How long could Luli hide? This is troublesome. Luli, who was in the realm of Dharma, was troubled. Just now, he did not see where the warrior was. That being said, he clearly sensed something. Since there were no warriors or beasts nearby, there could only be one explanation: the warrior was hiding nearby, waiting for Luli. Aren't the countless forces in the vicinity fighting? Luli was confused. This warrior was also hunting down another warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm, which meant that the war was still going on. Was this warrior that bored? What was he doing here, waiting for Luli? Chapter 3381. This powerful warrior was not bored out of his mind. He was sure that Luli was the best scout and he wanted to keep Luli here. A scout that even he couldn't find. How powerful was this scout? If Luli could not be killed, he would bring endless trouble to this side. Half a month, 1 month, 1.5 months. Luli was speechless. The powerful warrior had been here all this time. Was he trying to keep an eye on Luli? He would not stop until Luli was dead. Luli made up his mind. He might as well cultivate for a while. So many forces were fighting outside. He did not believe that the powerful warrior would stay here to keep an eye on him. Could it be that the powerful warrior had been here all this time when he had been cultivating for a year and a half? Without Luli, their forces would be weakened. Wasn't Luli worried? Wouldn't the leaders of their forces swear? Luli went into closed-door cultivation for half a year. When Luli woke up and tried to sense the outside, he was speechless. The powerful warrior was still here. Luli was wrong. The force that the powerful warrior was in was very strong. There were dozens of warriors that were infinitely close to the perfect completion realm. Luli was still here. What was more, this force had suppressed 2 nearby forces. Luli didn't have to do anything. Since he had nothing to do when he went back, the powerful warrior might as well stay here. He did not believe that Luli could stay here forever. As a matter of fact, he was confident of his hiding skills. He believed that Luli could not sense him. It was true that Luli did not know where the powerful warrior was. However, the trace of Tao could sense the presence of living beings. The powerful warrior's chi and energy never changed. How could Luli not know he was here? Luli had been cultivating for more than half a year, but the old man was still here. Luli was worried. The old man was not leaving. Had he been cultivating in the realm of magic all this time? He had been in the immortal region for a long time. Would something happen to the Lu Alliance in the chaotic star region? Would Mo Qianqian, Luan Xiu, Yang and the others be okay at the Palace of Immortals' inquiries? More importantly, there was nothing he could do in the realm of magic. His cultivation progress was slow. Staying here was a waste of time. What was more, if this powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the perfect completion went to ask for help, would Luli be forced out of the realm of magic? Luli thought about it and went into the interspatial artifact. Zishi and the ghost Taoist were both there. They stopped of their cultivation to surround Lu Li when they saw him. "Brother Lu, what is it?" Zishi grabbed Lu Li's hand. Even though the ghost Taoist didn't ask, he was concerned. Lu Li hadn't contacted them for more than half a year. Something must have happened. Otherwise, he would have let them out. "I am trapped." A powerful warrior that is infinitely close to the perfect completion has been waiting outside for more of Lu Li of the past half of his cultivation. Of the interspatial artifact of his mind of the interspatial artifact. Of the perfect completion. Also, if he went into the interspatial artifact, it would be exposed to the outside. How could this powerful warrior not find out? Lu Li didn't explain. Zishi and the ghost Taoist didn't ask either. Lu Li told them to think of a way. Zishi thought about it and said, "There is no other way. A powerful warrior of this level is too horrifying. Unless there is an immortal beast of this level nearby, there is nothing I can do." There were no immortal beasts nearby. The ghost Taoist thought of something else. His eyes glowed and he asked, "Master, are you at the Flame King Mountain?" "Yes." Lu Li nodded. His eyes glowed. Then he shook his head and said, "No. Even if we go to the treasured place in the Flame King Mountain, that powerful warrior can track us down in an instant. We will still be trapped in the treasured place. We will be giving them a treasured place for nothing." "No, no." The ghost Taoist shook his head and said with certainty, "That place is a maze. It took me 3,000 years to find the exit. Also, behind the maze there is a more powerful formation of illusion. The formation of illusion will become stronger when it is stronger. As long as we go into the maze, we will be able to get rid of this powerful warrior. After we go through the formation of illusion, there will be a teleportation altar. We can teleport out of the Flame King Mountain from the altar and then run away." Lu Li hesitated and asked, "Are you sure? How can I lie to you?" The ghost Taoist said solemnly, "Master, where is the area of the Flame King Mountain?" Lu Li took out a piece of paper and a brush and began to draw. The ghost Taoist read it several times and sighed, "There is still a long way to go before we reach the entrance. Master, it will take at least the time for 2 breaths to reach the entrance." The time for 2 breaths was short. But for a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm, it was a long time. A powerful warrior of this level could kill Lu Li hundreds of times. As soon as Lu Li went out, he would be attacked by that powerful warrior. Lu Li and the ghost Taoist and Zishi would be killed in an instant. Therefore, they had no chance to reach the entrance of the treasured place. "I have some corpse kings that I have refined for 10,000 years. The ghost Taoist made up his mind and said, "I will use them. They should be able to hold on for 1 breath, but it is not enough." Lu Li said nothing. If the Thunder Beast was still alive, it might be able to hold on for 1 breath. Unfortunately, it had disappeared in the eye of destruction. It was very likely that it had been killed by the force of destruction. Lu Li's defense was strong and he seemed to have many moves. But it was not enough to deal with a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm. For example, if Lu Li used the purple divine liquid and then released formations, it would have no effect on a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm. Or, if Lu Li used the super divine liquid of destruction, it might be useful. The question was, would a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm give him the chance to hit? When Lu Li was at a loss of what to do, a soft voice came. "I can trap him for 1 or 2 breaths. But if I use the forbidden skill, I may have to sleep for a year." Lu Li and the ghost Taoist suddenly looked towards Zishi, their faces filled with shock. This little girl, who seemed to be only at the initial stage of the Emperor realm, could trap a powerful warrior infinitely close to the consummate realm for 1 breath? If it were not for the fact that Zishi had many unimaginable skills, Luli and the ghost Taoist would have turned their noses up at her. Luli and Zishi looked at each other and saw absolute confidence in her eyes. Luli thought about it and asked after a while, "Is it harmful to your body?" "No." Zishi shook her head and said with a sweet smile, "This forbidden skill is just that I am too weak now. Otherwise, I could use it at will. Given my current abilities, I will consume some of my vitality. So, I will sleep for a year. By then, I will have to rely on you, Brother Lu." "Okay." Luli nodded and said, "Don't worry. No warrior can hurt you unless I am dead." Luli could not wait any longer. He didn't want to wait any longer. He decided to take a gamble. He would rush into the treasured land of the Flame King Mountain and use it to escape from the pursuit of powerful warriors. Chapter 3382. At the Fire King Mountain, the warrior who was close to the consummate realm was still lurking nearby. He was not exactly lurking, he was just sitting on a hill. His body was integrated with heaven and earth, so Luli could not tell where he was. This was a skill unique to warriors of this realm. They could mobilize forces in heaven and earth to be closer to heaven and earth. It was easy for them to become one with heaven and earth. When they reached the consummate realm, they could transform into a world of their own. As long as they did not show themselves, not even warriors close to the consummate realm could sense them. He had been waiting here for more than half a year. As a matter of fact, he was getting impatient. There was nothing he could do if Luli did not come out. If Luli were to hide here for years or decades, the warrior would not be able to stay here forever. It would not matter if it was not a war. However, several superforces were at war. If he stayed here for too long, what if the enemy ambushed him? Let's wait for another year, the warrior thought to himself. Right at that moment, he sensed something strange. He felt there was a pair of eyes in the air. Although he did not show it, he was mocking Luli. Was Luli checking again? Had he lost his patience? Buzzing, all of a sudden, space began to tremble. Following a glare, 7 or 8 people came out. The warrior's eyes glowed coldly as he showed himself. Was Luli going to come out now? The 7 or 8 people, to be exact, were 1 person, 1 girl and 5 corpses. The energy of death from the 5 corpses was strong. One look and Luli could tell that they were the corpses of Saint Kings. They must have been refined for many years and possessed strong abilities. Roar! The 5 corpses raised their heads and roared. Then, their bodies rapidly grew larger, and they flew towards the direction where he was sitting cross-legged. The corpses were covered with evil spirit. Their eyes were glowing in green and their claws were glowing in black. There was no decaying flesh. Instead, the corpses looked tough as if they were made of cold iron. The energy of death from the corpses made people uncomfortable. That supreme being laughed coldly. His body appeared in a flash. He did not even take out a weapon. He merely waved his hand casually. In an instant, 5 small palm imprints appeared in the air and landed on the chests of the 5 corpse emperors. Bang, 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 bang! 5 muffled sounds rang out, and the 5 corpse monarchs couldn't move at the same time, as if they had been immobilized. In the next moment, the 5 corpses exploded into dust, and the dense baleful corpse chi instantly disappeared. The 5 corpse emperors that were like 5 demonic mountains were directly crushed, as though they had never appeared before. Xiao. On the other side, when the 5 corpse kings took action, Luli flew toward the northeast with Zishi at the top of his speed. At the moment, they were more than 30,000 miles away. This powerful warrior could have activated the formation of an action, but he didn't. Luli could still hide in some unknown world if he did. Therefore, it was better to let Luli escape than to trap him. How fast could Luli be? Only by giving him a glimmer of hope would he be able to kill him. You want to escape with this speed? The powerful warrior sneered. He turned into a breeze and appeared behind Lu Li and Zishi in the next second. His cold laughter rang in Lu Li's ears. "Punk, surrender to me and I will spare your life." "Zishi!" Lu Li shouted and kept flying forward. However, Zishi, whom he was holding, suddenly turned around and faced this powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm. Buzzing, Zishi's body glowed with green light. Her black hair turned green as well. Her hair was growing at a crazy speed, and in an instant, it had become hundreds of thousands of feet long. Her green hair was shaking like seaweed floating in the air, creating an enchanting sense of beauty. At the same time, a surge of strange chi and energy spread out, which made the powerful warrior's eyes blur. It was not seaweed or hair, but some kind of strange spiritual energy. At this moment, the powerful warrior was absorbed by the strange spiritual energy, and he fell into a strange state without knowing it. Horrifying! Lu Li was secretly shocked. Even a powerful warrior infinitely close to the consummate realm could fall into an illusion? In a fight between powerful warriors, life and death could be decided in an instant. If Zishi were a powerful warrior, the powerful warrior behind her would have been killed by now. Lu Li dared not to be distracted. His psychic power locked onto a small mountain in front of him. There was a small abyss at the bottom of the mountain, and the entrance was inside the abyss. Whoosh! Lu Li was fast. He dashed into the abyss at once. He let the ghost Taoist out. Without any hesitation, the ghost Taoist dashed toward the bottom of the abyss. "Brother Lu, I am counting on you." A weak voice came out. Lu Li realized that Zishi had passed out. He put Zishi into his interspatial artifact at once. The ghost Taoist let out 3 corpse kings and rushed back as well. "Master, let's go." The ghost Taoist took Lu Li into the abyss. The ghost Taoist dashed toward a pond at the bottom of the abyss. The pond stank, and it was clearly poisonous. But the ghost Taoist dashed in without any hesitation. Whoosh! Lu Li dashed in as well. As soon as they went in, they heard 3 muffled noises behind them. The 3 corpse kings were smashed into pieces. Then, the warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm appeared above the pond. The ghost Taoist grinned. He was not in a hurry to go in. Instead, he said with mockery, "You know where the entrance to the tomb of Yen King is? Are you trying to escape from me by using the tomb of Yen King? Ridiculous." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Still, the powerful warrior did not go in. Instead, he threw out formation stones and began to build formations. He was fast. In the time for a few breaths, a formation was completed. In an instant, the abyss was filled with dark fog. The sun could not be seen as if it had been sealed. A warrior of the great emperor realm with strange stealth skills? A little girl who can charm even me, and a Taoist who can refine corpses? What an interesting combination. The powerful warrior murmured, "If you didn't go into the tomb of Yen King, it might be more troublesome for me to catch you. But now that you are here, you are walking into a trap. When it comes to understanding the tomb of Yen King, who can be more knowledgeable than me?" Ha 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 ha. The supreme expert disappeared in a flash and rushed into the pool. After a flash of white light, he came to a crisscrossed cave. This was the outermost maze of the tomb of Yen King. The powerful warrior did seem to be familiar with this place. He did not stop at all. He dashed forward at the speed of a ghost. The ghost Taoist spent 3,000 years to get out of this place, but the powerful warrior came out in the time for a dozen breaths. Not bad. He stood at the end of the cave. In front of him was a natural stone bridge. He closed his eyes and sensed. He said with a smile, "I can't believe I got out of the maze and entered the formation of illusion so quickly. It seems that the corpse Taoist is very familiar with this place. Do you want to get out of the formation of illusion and go to the teleportation altar? Ha ha. I have a surprise for you. Third Sect Master. Chapter 3383. Luli and the others were fast. The ghost Taoist had been studying here for 3,000 years, and he was familiar with the layout. In the time for a few breaths, he had made it out. There will be an illusory formation inside later. Master, do you want to enter my spatial god artifact? Outside the maze, the ghost Taoist asked. He had experience in solving illusions. He was afraid that Luli would be trapped by the illusions and be killed by the powerful warriors chasing after him. No need. Luli shook his head and said, Will it be okay if I go with you? How long do you need to pass through this formation? Luli didn't like to put his fate in the hands of others. What if powerful warriors caught up with him? How could the ghost Taoist fight back? At the very least, he could enter the Dharma realm, so he naturally couldn't enter the ghost Taoist's spatial divine item. I don't know. The ghost Taoist shook his head and said, I've said it before, this illusory formation will become stronger the stronger it is, and it will constantly change, so I'm not sure how long it will take to get through this formation. If you follow me, I'm afraid that we'll get lost because this illusion array works on different people. I understand. While following the ghost Taoist, Luli asked, What is the key to cracking the illusion formation? Don't worry, my ability to break arrays is much stronger than you think. While moving forward, Ghost Taoist pondered. After entering the illusory formation, he said, Between illusion and reality, reality and illusion is reality is illusion, this is the core of breaking this illusory formation. Luli was deep in thought. They stepped onto the stone bridge and entered the mountain path. Not long afterward, they felt a white glare. Then the scene in front of them changed. They were in an illusion. Ghost Taoist? When Luli went in, he noticed that the ghost Taoist was gone. Not only could he not see the ghost Taoist, even the spiritual connection was gone. It was as if Luli was the only person left in the world. This illusion array is very powerful. Luli used the trace of Tao to sense carefully and then flew forward quickly. He did not dare to stay where he was. What if that powerful warrior had caught up with him? His speed was very fast. After flying for a full 2 hours, the world was still a vast expanse without any scenery. There was only endless white fog. He couldn't see the bottom, nor could he see the top. There was only white fog to his left, right, and front. Between reality and illusion? Luli was confused. What was real and what was fake? It was all fake. There was no real thing. How was he going to break the formation? He had no choice but to use the simplest method. A beam of red light flew out of his body, and Blood Fairy began to investigate. Given Blood Fairy's abilities, it would not be difficult for her to break through a formation of illusion. Also, this was a single formation of illusion, not a combined one. Luli believed that it would not take Blood Fairy long to solve it. An hour later, Blood Fairy sent a voice transmission. Master, this formation cannot be broken. What? Luli was taken aback. There was a formation of illusion that Blood Fairy could not solve? Was this a joke? This isn't a spell formation, Blood Fairy explained. It's a psychic will. A super elite's psychic will entered your soul and caused you to hallucinate. I can't break this spell formation, so you'll have to walk out on your own. I see. Luli was enlightened. The formation of illusion here was impressive. This Emperor of Flame must be a warrior at the consummate realm. This place had existed for so many years, yet his spiritual consciousness still existed? That was a miracle. Blood Fairy came back. Luli did not move. If this was not an average formation of illusion, then regular methods would not work. If he could not figure out a way, flying forward for 10,000 years would be pointless. Maybe, he seemed to be flying, but he had not moved at all. Psychic will? Is it forming a formation of illusion in my mind? Luli thought about it. In other words, at the moment, his spirit and body should be separated. If his spirit could not get rid of the formation of illusion, then he would never be able to control his body, and he would be trapped here for the rest of his life. So, the key is how to connect the spirit and body? Luli had an idea. As long as his spirit and body could be connected, then he would be free from this formation of illusion. He would be able to see the real path in front of him, instead of the illusion he was seeing now. That is to say, my soul might be surrounded by some strong energy? Is it cutting off the connection with my body? And this energy has a strange ability to make me hallucinate? How can I build a connection with my body? Right, the realm of Dharma. Soon, Luli thought of a way. He could sense the existence of the realm of Dharma. As long as he entered the realm of Dharma, he would be able to establish a connection with his body, and then he would be able to get rid of this formation of illusion. With a thought, the scene in front of him disappeared, and he reappeared in the realm of Dharma. Luli was delighted. How could he crack the formation of illusion so easily? He dashed away and reappeared in the outside world. However, when he reappeared in the outside world, he saw a white haze again. It was the same as the previous illusion. He did not crack the formation of illusion. He did not panic because he was sure that he had entered the realm of Dharma. The reason why he fell into this illusion again was that, after he came out, he was attacked by that strong psychic power again. Illusion and reality, illusion and reality. This moment is illusion and just now is reality. I am actually changing between illusion and reality? Luli was intrigued. This was in line with the Taoist of Ghosts' idea of illusion and reality. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli smiled and said, I see. Illusion is reality and reality is illusion. Illusion is reality and reality is illusion. Illusion will always be illusion and reality will always be reality. Go. The white haze in front of Luli suddenly dispersed. Several paths appeared in front of Luli. The Taoist of Ghost was still standing next to him. His eyes were filled with confusion. It seemed that he was still trapped in the formation of illusion. Luli thought about it. He carried the Taoist of Ghost with one hand and flew forward quickly. The path was long. After flying for an hour, the terrain changed. There was an underground plaza. As far as the eyes could see, there were more than a dozen corridors in the plaza. When Luli entered the plaza, the Taoist of Ghost suddenly came back to his senses. He looked around and said with shame, Master, you are impressive. I thought you would need a long time to crack the formation, and I wanted to take you away. I didn't expect that you could crack it in such a short time. I have been boasting shamelessly. Please don't laugh at me. Let's not talk about this. Luli was not complacent at all. He did not rely on himself. At the end of the day, he had a strange realm of Dharma. Without this realm of Dharma, it would not be so easy for him to crack the formation. He would not be as fast as the Taoist of Ghosts. Looking at the numerous corridors in front of them, Luli said, Which one? Let's go to the one with the teleportation altar. This place is too horrifying. Let's not explore. This way. The Taoist of Ghosts nodded. He led the way and explained to Luli at the same time. He had been to 3 corridors here. One of them was filled with endless flames. If he dared to go in, he would be burned into ashes. The other one was filled with powerful avatars. He felt some of them could be as powerful as warriors that were infinitely close to the complete completion of the realm. Luli had no interest in this treasured land. Therefore, he didn't pay much attention to it. He followed the Taoist of Ghost all the way. Soon, they arrived at a small underground plaza with a teleportation altar in front of them. Wait, before they stepped into the altar, Luli's pupils contracted. Without any hesitation, he stepped back quickly and said to the Taoist of Ghost, Release the skeletons. All the powerful skeletons or we will all die. Now. Master 3. Chapter 3384. The ghost Taoist was too full of himself. He thought the entrance was well hidden. As a matter of fact, the tomb of Flame Emperor had been discovered by other forces nearby before he found it. The treasures on the periphery had been taken away. It was called Flame Emperor Mountain. Flame Emperor was a famous warrior at the absolute completion in the history of the Immortal region. How could no warrior suspect this place? This place had been discovered many years ago, and it had caused a great commotion. Countless major factions had fought over it. But in the end, this place became a forbidden area. It was marked as a dangerous place on the map because most of the warriors that entered here died. None of the major forces got the real treasures. Warriors at the absolute completion could not go in. It was not that the setup here was so powerful that even warriors at the absolute completion would die in there. It was because once warriors at the absolute completion went in, the place would collapse. Flame Emperor had set up a trap here. If a warrior at the absolute completion forced his way in, the place would explode and everything inside would vanish into thin air. Therefore, some warriors at the absolute completion came to have a look and then didn't go in. They would die one day. Maybe they also had a similar setup. Therefore, there was no need to destroy this place. Powerful warriors close to the absolute completion, including countless Saint Emperors, had been here more than once. But none of them had entered the core area. Flame Emperor's setup was horrifying, and they could not stand it. Some of them might have been able to force their way into the core area, but it would also destroy the place, and they would be blown to death. All the good stuff in the periphery had been taken away. There were no treasured lands that could help warriors improve their realms or learn fundamental meanings. The core area could not be entered. Gradually, more and more warriors came in. On the other hand, low-level warriors could easily die here. This place was no longer a land of treasured lands, but a land of death. Of course, occasionally, some warriors who were not afraid of death or who wanted to train themselves would come in and explore. In the end, they would either gain nothing or die in there. The powerful warrior that was close to the absolute completion that was chasing after Luli was familiar with this place. He had been here many times. He could have killed Luli in the illusion, but he wanted to give Luli a surprise. He came here from another mountain path. He wanted to wait for Luli to be teleported away, but he suddenly found that the teleportation altar was broken. He thought it must be interesting to see the expression of joy turning to sorrow. Unfortunately, he didn't do it well. Luli noticed something before he entered the hall. Luli sensed a trace of life. It should have been many years since a martial artist broke into this place, so there was actually a faint decaying aura in many places. Even though the warrior who was infinitely close to the consummate realm had been concealing his energy, the small hall was completely sealed at the moment. Luli, with the trace of Tao, had amazing senses. He could still sense the presence of living beings. Luli had been fighting all his life. He was constantly walking between life and death, so his reaction speed was incredible. Without hesitation, he immediately retreated and ordered the Ghost Taoist to release the skeletons. The Ghost Taoist was Luli's sole slave. Out of instinct, he obeyed Luli's orders. Therefore, the Ghost Taoist's interspatial artifact kept glowing. Countless skeletons, corpse kings and corpse kings came out and blocked off the tunnel. Ha ha ha! A burst of laughter rang out, and the figure of the supreme expert appeared. He laughed and said, "Your perception is indeed amazing, but I want to see where you can escape to this time. The entrance has been sealed by me, and this altar has been destroyed. You have nowhere to run. Surrender obediently, and I can spare your lives. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Do you think you can stop me with just these corpse soldiers?" Boom, boom, boom. The powerful warrior rushed over. Everywhere he passed by, the corpse kings and skeletons were all crushed into dust. He was so fast. Luli and the others had left the hall. Luli wanted to rush into the realm of magic, but he hesitated after hearing the words of the powerful warrior. The entrance was sealed, and the altar was destroyed. What could he do in the realm of magic? Hide in the realm of magic for the rest of his life? Surrender? Surrender to this powerful warrior and join his force? In that case, he might have a chance to live and leave. But his fate would be out of his control. If this powerful warrior had some special means to control his fate, then he could be a slave for the rest of his life. No, soon, Luli rejected the idea. He once surrendered to the abyss of devils, and almost became a slave there for the rest of his life. He had had enough of that kind of life. He would rather die than live like that again. If he could not surrender, then he must find a way to escape. Was there any other way apart from the realm of magic? Many thoughts flashed across Luli's mind. At this moment, he made up his mind. He dragged the ghost Taoist into a tunnel. More skeletons were coming out from the ghost Taoist's interspatial artifact. Ha 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 ha! Seeing that Luli and the ghost Taoist had gone into a tunnel, the powerful warrior was amused. He laughed and said, "This tunnel leads to the Hall of Hellfire. Not even I can stand the flames in the deepest part. You want to run away? You are digging your own grave." When Luli heard this, he was overjoyed. But he pretended to be frightened. He didn't stop. He kept flying forward, pretending that he was going to risk his life to break through the gates of hell. "Master, he is right. There are 9 levels of flames in there. I once went to the 6th level as high as I could. I will still die if I go further." The ghost Taoist's voice rang in Luli's mind. But Luli didn't take it seriously. So what if the flames were strong? No matter how strong the flames were, they were just a form of energy. As long as they touched his body, he could absorb them with the realm of magic. The flames might not burn him to death. Therefore, as long as he could go into the flames, he would be safe and he could find another teleportation altar to escape. The powerful warrior could have caught up with Luli easily. The ghost Taoist's corpse king was gone and he could ignore the skeletons. But he wanted to see Luli in despair when he went into the flames. Therefore, he caught up with Luli at ease. He waved his hand and the attacking skeletons were turned into dust. Luli was fast. In the time for 2 breaths, he had reached the end of the tunnel. In front of him was a rectangular hall. The hall was long, about 300 miles. There was a dim light on the walls. Luli and the others could see a door at the end of the hall. There was no fire in the hall at the moment. But Luli knew that as soon as he stepped into the hall, the flames would come out. Without any hesitation, Luli said to the ghost Taoist, "Don't resist. Trust me." Luli's interspatial artifact glowed and the ghost Taoist was taken in. Then Luli stepped into the hall. Bang, the hall glowed. Flames burst out from underground and filled the entire hall. Luli was enveloped by the flames as well. Red, yellow, orange, green, cyan, blue, purple, white, and black. There were 9 types of flames. Each of them covered an area of more than 30 miles. They were clearly differentiated, as if there were 9 guards of different abilities guarding the 9 levels to stop the challengers from entering. Chapter 3385. Luli used to refine his body with fire and thunderbolts on many occasions. Therefore, he was resistant to fire. Many years ago, he stayed at the scorching island in the 3rd layer. The place was filled with powerful flames. Therefore, he was not afraid of fire. Of course, it was not that he was immune to fire. Back at the scorching island, he could not go to the depth or else he would be burned into ashes. Now it was different. He had the realm of Dharma that could absorb strange energy. As far as he was concerned, fire was a type of strange energy. Theoretically, he could absorb it. At this moment, he was in the 1st layer of flames. The flames were very strong, but they didn't affect him much. He stood in the flames as if he was standing on flat ground. It was very easy. Only his robe and hair were burned. Luli did not stop. He dashed into the second layer of fire. He did not use the realm of Dharma because he was afraid that the powerful warrior would notice something was wrong and attack him directly. The third layer, the fourth layer, Luli was still relaxed. He could withstand it with his body. The powerful warrior walked to the edge of the fire. Seeing Luli walking forward, he smiled and said, "Punk, you have a good body. But don't go any further. Not even I can stand the 8th layer of fire. If you go any further, you will only turn into ashes." "I want to try." Luli turned back and said, "I would rather die than become someone else's slave." "Slave?" The powerful warrior was surprised. He shook his head and said, "When did I say I want you to be my slave? I only want you to surrender to me, not to be a slave. Actually, as long as you perform well, the ancient palace will put you in an important position. Well, I forgot to ask you. Punk, which force are you from?" "I am not from your side." While moving on, Luli said, "We are just passing by. We are going to the city of mystic armor. We do not want to get involved in your war, nor do we want to work for any of your forces." Luli was trying to buy himself some time. He had reached the 5th layer. His skin was red, but there was still no sign of being burned. He began to use the dragon skill to strengthen his body and prevent injuries. That powerful warrior paused for a moment. He thought about it. It seemed that there was no such person as Luli in the nearby forces. Otherwise, Luli would have become famous a long time ago with so many miraculous skills. The supreme expert pondered for a moment and said, "I don't care if you're from the enemy forces or just passing by. This seat is cordially inviting you to join our ancient palace. Our ancient palace has 2 perfection realm experts and 50 experts who are infinitely close to perfection realm. Our faction is one of the 3 strongest factions in the vicinity. As long as you are willing to join, I can represent the ancient palace to give you the best treatment." "Oh." Luli looked back at him and said, "What kind of treatment? Can he be an elder?" With that said, Luli moved on. He had reached the 6th layer of flames. The intensity of the flames was too much for him. He had no other choice but to release the dragon transformation. There are indeed a lot of divine arts. Seeing that Luli could stand the 6th layer of flames after he released the dragon transformation, the powerful warrior was impressed. Then he said, "Don't go any further. Even if you can stand the 7th layer of flames, I bet you can't stand the 8th layer. I think we can talk about the treatment. The position of a patriarch is a bit difficult, but I think the other positions are negotiable." Luli was not interested in the position of the ancient palace. If he wanted to join a force, he would have joined the Yun family a long time ago. Luli stopped, looked back at the powerful warrior and said, "A bet? You want to have a bet? If I can stand the 8th layer of flames, how about you eat 5 pounds of sh*t?" The powerful warrior was enraged. No warrior could humiliate a warrior who was infinitely close to the perfection realm, let alone a puny Luli. He was filled with killing intent. He almost attacked Luli. But in the end, he managed to control himself. He laughed at himself and said, "Since you are so confident, then let's have a bet. If you can survive the 8th layer of flames, I will eat 5 pounds of sh*t. If you can't, then join the ancient palace. How about that?" "Deal." Luli understood what the powerful warrior was planning. If Luli couldn't stand it, then the powerful warrior would take him out. Luli put on a gentle smile. How interesting would it be for a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the perfection realm to eat sh*t? Even if Luli won, the powerful warrior wouldn't eat it. But at the very least, Luli would be able to satisfy some of his wicked interests. Luli was standing in between the 6th and 7th layer of flames. As he stepped into the 7th layer of flames, smoke began to rise from his body. He didn't dare to fight head-on anymore. He secretly controlled the realm of magic at once. The swirl in the realm of magic began to spin. The flames around him disappeared as they were sucked into Lu Li's realm of magic. A vacuum appeared around Lu Li. He sensed it and put on a gentle smile. Then he turned back to the powerful warrior and said, "I am sorry. I am afraid you will be disappointed this time. I suggest you get ready to poop. Maybe you can't poop so much, but you can eat some to fill your stomach." Whoosh! Lu Li sped up and rushed forward. Everywhere he went, the flames disappeared. They were all sucked into the realm of magic. He was fast. He rushed into the 8th layer of flames at once. He stood in the 8th layer of flames easily. There was a vacuum around him. White flames kept sweeping over but were absorbed by Lu Li at once. He turned around with a smile, looked at the powerful warrior and said, "A powerful warrior who is infinitely close to the perfection realm of magic is a man of his word. I don't think you will go back on your words. If you don't have sh*t, I can give you some." What? The powerful warrior looked as if he had seen a ghost. His mouth was agape. It had been years since he was this shocked. He had lived for more than 200,000 years and had seen many strange things. Naturally, he would be able to stay calm. But now, he could not stay calm anymore. Kill him. I must kill him or there will be endless troubles. A thought popped up in the mind of this supreme expert, and he put it into action. A golden javelin appeared in his hand, and he hurled it forward. As soon as he took out the spear, Lu Li made a move. He vanished and entered the realm of magic. The spear passed through the 9 layers of flames with a sound of wind and thunder. But it was melted into molten iron in the 9th layer of flames. Buzzing! Lu Li dashed out and dashed into the 9th layer of flames. The flames that could melt top-level holy weapons could not burn him. Lu Li absorbed the black flames as well. He didn't go into the gate right away. Instead, he moved around quickly and absorbed more than half of the black flames. Not even a powerful warrior close to the perfection realm of magic could stand the white flames. Lu Li believed that once the black flames were released, even a powerful warrior close to the perfection realm of magic could be burned. This was a super weapon. Chapter 3386. The powerful warrior gasped when he saw this. He already had a whole new level of respect for Lu Li, but he was taken aback once again. He did not know how horrifying the black flames were. All he knew was that he would be burned into ashes if he were to be engulfed by the black flames. Not only was Lu Li unharmed by such a horrifying flame, he even put it away? Was he a warrior at the consummate level of fire? This supreme expert was starting to doubt his own judgment. There was only a small amount of black flames. After Lu Li absorbed more than half of them, no more flames came out. Lu Li walked toward the door. At this moment, the powerful warrior felt jealous. Not even warriors at the consummate level could go in, and nobody knew what was inside. Now, Lu Li had gone in. That was to say, Lu Li might have the legacy of Flame Emperor and the treasures inside. He might even have Flame Emperor's weapons, armors and artifacts. Weapons and armors were not valuable. What was valuable was the great Tao inscribed in them by warriors at the consummate level. Those were supreme treasures. A warrior at the consummate level would only use one weapon and one armor. They would not bother to make armors and weapons for other warriors. As long as they were alive, no warrior could lay a finger on the people they were protecting. What was the point of giving them armors and weapons? The legacy of Flame Emperor. The jealousy in the eyes of the powerful warrior grew stronger. He thought for a while and then flew back. He must report this to the master of the ancient palace and see if the other powerful warriors could come up with a plan to take Lu Li down. Should he go in and take a share or just destroy this place? Creak, creak on the other side, Lu Li pushed open the door. After a moment of hesitation, he stepped in. After a white glare, he found himself in a small valley. He was standing in a stone pavilion. It was evident that the pavilion had been here for many years. There was moss on the stone pillars. There were no animals or beasts in here. Trees provided shade and the air was fresh. The xian-qi in heaven and earth was rich. The view was beautiful. This was an elegant place. Luli looked around. Soon, he was taken aback. He found many elixirs in the valley. As far as the eye could see, they were everywhere. There must be at least 100 of them. It was normal to have godly medicines. What was unusual was that the godly medicines here were all extremely old. Luli recognized one of the divine herbs. The divine fruits on it were originally only the size of a thumb. However, the divine fruits here were the size of a fist. 18-leaf Phoenix Ganoderma. Heavens! Don't tell me these divine medicines are hundreds of thousands of years old? Luli recognized another one. He gulped. His cheeks were blushing and his eyes glowed. He did not know many of them, but he was sure that any one of them would cause a sensation in the chaotic starfield. Luli didn't pick so many herbs at once. He continued to observe the situation in the valley. There were no thatched cottages or wooden houses like he had imagined. Other than the pavilion, there were only those divine medicines and ancient trees. There was no pool here, and the valley was not big. It could be seen through with just a few glances. He used the mark of the Great Path to investigate for a while, then sent Blood Fairy to scout around. After confirming that there was no danger in the valley, he went to collect the herbs. He collected all the herbs carefully. There were many jade bottles and boxes in his interspatial ring. The herbs must be properly stored or they would be wasted. 123. If I sell them, how many celestial stones can I get? Luli thought to himself. Of course, he would not sell such valuable herbs. At best, he would trade for them. Of course, the top powers wouldn't sell these treasures. Instead, they would trade them for treasures of the same grade. Luli wandered around. Making sure that there were no more herbs, he went back to the pavilion. There was only one building in the valley. It must be something special. Luli wanted to see if there were any marks of Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level. He sat in the middle of the pavilion and used the mark of the Great Path to check. He cultivated here for 3 days. Unfortunately, he gained nothing. There were no marks of Tao here, nothing at all. It was just an average pavilion. Luli shook his head. He walked to the edge of the valley. There was a hidden stone gate. He had seen it before. This should be the entrance to the next level. Luli walked to the stone gate. He pushed it, but it would not budge. He did not dare to break in by force and asked Blood Fairy to do it. It only took Blood Fairy half an hour to break through the spell formation of a door. He used his divine telekinesis to probe inside, but there was nothing inside. There was nothing at all. After a moment of hesitation, Luli used the dragon transformation and dashed in. It was pitch dark. When Luli went in, he found that it was horribly dark inside. He could not sense anything in there, only darkness. He tried to use psychic power only to realize that he could not use psychic power. He used the mark of the Great Path and found that he could not sense anything around him either. Apart from darkness, there was nothing. The range of his senses was limited. Formation of illusion? Luli frowned. First, there was a formation of illusion. Now, there was another one. It did not make sense. Luli thought about it and entered the realm of Dharma. He was relieved to find that he could enter the realm of Dharma. When he came out, he found himself in that dark world again. Confused, he sent a voice transmission to Blood Fairy to investigate. She wanted to see if it was an illusion formed by spiritual power. A moment later, Blood Fairy replied, "Master, this is not a formation of illusion. I think it is some kind of strange law that has absorbed all the light and sealed up the space. I have checked. There is no exit. I think this is a sealed room." What? Luli was shocked. If this place was sealed, how could he get out? Making sure that there was no danger, Luli walked around slowly. Soon, he bumped into a wall. Boom! He smashed at the wall casually. The stone wall trembled. The divine patterns were trembling, but there was no light. This place was more like a cage. Luli searched around the walls. The hall was not large, only with a radius of 2 miles. It was surrounded by black stone walls. This was a sealed prison. Boom, boom, boom. Luli used his energy and the dragon transformation to strike at the walls. The divine patterns on the walls were strong. Luli could not crack them. What was more, the divine patterns were not moving. Clearly, the divine patterns were strong. Blood Fairy was still checking. Luli asked, "Can you crack the divine patterns here?" Blood Fairy did not reply. She waited for half an hour before she transmitted, "Master, this place is very complicated. Or perhaps, this is not a pure divine glyph. There is a seal of law in here. Even if I can crack the divine patterns, you cannot get out." "What?" Luli was not worried at first. He was stunned by Blood Fairy's words. Was he going to be trapped here until he died? Master 3. Chapter 3387. In Luli's life, he had entered many lands of treasure and solved many difficulties. Sometimes he was trapped, but Luli had always been confident. He believed that he could get out and solve all the problems. Therefore, at first, he did not pay much attention to this place. It was mainly because Blood Fairy had given him boundless confidence. As far as he was concerned, Blood Fairy's understanding of divine glyphs had reached the level of a master. Even if she could not solve it in a short time, she would be able to after some time. But now, Blood Fairy was telling him that she could not solve it. This was not only divine glyphs but also seals of laws. Blood Fairy could not solve it. Luli himself could not solve it. This was built by a warrior at the consummate level. Given his understanding of laws and fundamental principles, it would be difficult for him to solve it. More importantly, the environment here was terrible. It was pitch dark and the space was narrow. If it were any other warrior in here, they would lose their minds and commit suicide in a few decades. Luli had the state of magic, so he did not have to face this environment. But he could not stay in the state of magic forever. By then, he would lose his mind as well. Luli dashed into the state of magic and forced himself to calm down. Panic and flights of fancy would not change anything. Only by staying calm could he find a way out. Luli had calmed down after sitting in the state of magic for 5 days. During these days, he had been analyzing the situation. There was a chance that he could solve this prison. As long as he could understand the formations and seals in the walls, he would have a chance to get out. He dashed out of the prison. Then, he walked to the wall and began to sense it. He used the trace of the Great Path to sense the things in the walls. Psychic power could not be used here, but the trace of the Great Path could still sense something. He tried to sense it with his heart, and after half a month, some vague things appeared in his mind. They were runes, and they looked very strange. The runes crisscrossed and were engraved on the walls. There were also formation patterns. Luli ignored the formation patterns and focused on the runes. Luli got up and walked to the other walls. He studied them one by one and memorized all the runes. Several months later, Luli had learned all the runes. A diagram was formed in his mind. The diagram was abstruse. It was like a beautiful star map, full of mystery and profound meaning. Luli began to cultivate. It was dark and quiet in here, but it was actually faster to cultivate here. Luli abandoned all distracting thoughts and began to cultivate. Time flew by quickly. Soon, 3 months had passed. Luli didn't learn much. The diagram was too abstruse. He couldn't see through it because it was different. After some thought, he entered the Dharma realm and continued to comprehend it. In any case, he had already recorded the runes in his mind. It would be the same to cultivate in a different place. Perhaps a different environment would give him a different harvest. Luli cultivated in the Dharma realm for another 3 months. Still, he gained nothing. These runes were somewhat unconstrained. He couldn't see through them at all. He couldn't understand them at all. He didn't know what they represented. Sleep. Luli fell asleep at once, not caring about anything else. He had been exhausted recently and his mental state was not good. There was no point in continuing. After sleeping for 3 to 4 days, he came out of the cage and continued to meditate. This time, he entered the dreamland state. He forgot about time and everything in the outside world as he concentrated on comprehending. In this state, Luli had no sense of time. Time flew by quickly. Soon, 3 years had passed. Today, Luli opened his eyes. Phew, phew, he let out a long breath. After spending almost 4 years, he had finally cracked the nomological Tao seal here. Although he was not 100% sure, he was at least somewhat confident. He stood up and walked to the side of a wall. Then, he stretched out his palm and placed it on the wall. The strange energy in his body surged into the wall. He directed the energy to the runes and then used the energy to move the runes slowly. The energy and the runes were intangible and could move in the wall. Luli controlled the runes to move one by one and assemble them into another diagram. That was right. Luli believed that everything here was turned into a cage because there was a strange formation diagram here. As long as the formation diagram was changed, the seal of formation here would lose its effect. Of course, this was just his speculation. It would be up to fate whether or not it would work. Luli moved the runes bit by bit. There were tens of thousands of them and they formed a huge diagram. It took Luli half a month to mobilize all the runes and form a new formation diagram according to his plan. It's done. Luli took a deep breath after he activated the last rune. Then, he waited quietly for something to happen. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, nothing happened. Could it be that I was wrong? Luli's eyebrows were knitted together. He stood on the wall in deep thought. After a long time, his eyes glowed as he shouted, "No, I am wrong. It should be the other way around." Luli began to work again. He activated the runes one by one, faster than last time. It only took Luli 10 days to finish the work. Buzzing, after Luli finished the last rune, the entire wall suddenly lit up. Luli had been in the dark all this time, so the sudden light caught him off guard. His eyes felt like they were being stung. It's done. Luli was overjoyed. Before he could put on a smile, he sensed a surge of horrifying energy. He sensed a fatal danger in his soul. Without any hesitation, he entered the realm of magic. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. It was as if he had poked a hornet's nest. Strands of sword energy gathered on the wall and shot into the secret chamber. It was like a formation of inertia. There was not a single blind spot in the secret chamber. Everywhere was filled with sword energy. Hiss, hiss, when Luli entered the realm of magic, he used the trace of Tao to sense the outside. He sensed that each strand of sword energy was almost as powerful as a completed attack. If he had been in there, he would have been reduced to ashes. Freaky! Luli curled his lips. The tomb of Yen King was horrifying. If he didn't have the realm of magic, he would have died for sure. Nobody could save him. Luli was upset. He was doubting himself. Was he wrong? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The sword chi outside attacked for the time for 1 incense stick to burn before it died down. What made Luli overjoyed was that, with a glare, a door appeared in the secret room. The door appeared out of thin air and opened to the outside without a sound. I am right. I am going in the right direction. But if I want to go out, I must endure the attack of the sword energy. Luli grinned. Whether or not there was a teleportation altar on the next level, at least he had left this crazy secret chamber. Chapter 3388. Luli checked and asked Blood Fairy to check. Making sure that there was no danger outside, Luli dashed out of that door as fast as he could. After a flash of white light, Luli found himself in a hall. The hall was bright, more than bright. On the walls were stoves that were burning with fire. The temperature in the hall was high. This temperature was nothing for Luli. He looked around for a while. The hall was empty. There were no treasures. Even so, Luli felt this place was dangerous. He looked at the ground in front of him and saw the strange patterns. The patterns covered the entire hall, like the face of a sorcerer. The patterns were faint, but they crisscrossed and connected with each other. There was a pattern in you and me in you. It was extremely complicated. Luli checked for a moment and then asked Blood Fairy to check. An hour later, Blood Fairy sent a voice transmission to Jiang Yi. Master, these patterns are all extremely complicated divine marks. Furthermore, there are countless divine marks connected together. The moment the divine marks get close to you, they will be activated. They are very powerful. However, they should be fire attribute divine marks. In other words, they will emit fire. Burst into flames? Luli grinned. He was not afraid of fire now. To him, no matter how strong the fire was, it was just a form of energy. Just like venom, no matter how toxic the venom was, it could not kill him. Emperor of Flame. Judging by the name, this powerful warrior must have a lore related to fire. Luli had an idea. If the tomb of Emperor of Flame was filled with patterns related to fire, then it would be easy for him to go through. Will it be difficult for you to solve the problem? To be safe, Luli asked Blood Fairy. She answered after some thoughts, I can solve it, but it will take time. The patterns here are complicated. I think it will take me at least a year. I will try. Luli dashed forward without hesitation. He stepped into the first pattern. The patterns on the ground lit up, moving like snakes of fire. Soon, the ground trembled. Blue flames surged out and enveloped Luli in an instant. Luli operated the swirl in the law realm. All the flames that were close to him were sucked into the law realm. Luli nodded after a while. He couldn't even feel the temperature of the flames. In that instant, he was sucked into the Dharma realm in the form of energy. All the flames gathered together in the mana realm. There were white, black, and blue flames. Luli was curious. How horrifying would the flames be after they were refined by the Dharma realm? Would a little flame be able to incinerate a powerhouse infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm? Luli continued to move forward and soon entered the next circle of light. There was also a raging fire, the same blue flames. Luli walked on as if he was walking on flat ground. All the flames that were close to him were absorbed. Soon, Luli reached the end of the hall. There was a door here. Luli was not in a hurry to push it open. He asked Blood Fairy to crack it while he wandered around. Now that there was no danger, and this blue flame seemed very powerful, he would naturally absorb as much as he could. After walking around a few dozen times until the fire stopped, Luli was finally satisfied and walked towards the door. The flames were horrifying, but Luli treated them like delicious food. He was not happy that there was no fire down there. The patterns on the door were simple. Blood Fairy cracked it open easily. As soon as Luli stepped in, he felt he was in a sea of flames. He felt his body was about to be incinerated. He used the law realm at once to absorb all the flames. Only then did he feel relieved. Over half of his skin and flesh were burnt. Black smoke rose from many parts of his body, and he smelled burnt flesh. Luli dashed into the law realm to absorb the energy of origin and destruction. His body recovered quickly. 2 hours later, his body was healed. He used the trace of Tao to sense the outside. There was a furnace outside, and it did look like a furnace. It was filled with white flames and the walls were sealed. The only thing that seemed to be a lid was on the top. Luli could see some faint patterns on the lid. This place did look like a huge furnace. There were no exits around or down there. The only way out must be above. Luli dashed out. He would absorb all the flames first. He would take in as many flames as he could. He wanted to see if this furnace could generate endless flames. He used the swirl in the law realm and then dashed out. As soon as he was out, the flames around him were absorbed. He wandered around and absorbed the flames one by one. This furnace was not large. In the time for a dozen breaths, the flames were absorbed. But soon, more flames came out. Luli sat in there and absorbed as many flames as he could. 3 days. Luli had been absorbing flames for 3 days. He could not tell how many flames he had absorbed. Finally, the flames stopped and the temperature returned to normal. Blood Fairy, crack the formation. Luli let Blood Fairy out. He hoped that this time it would not be like the black cage with seals of laws. Otherwise, he could not tell how long it would take him. Master, this really is a furnace. Blood Fairy sent a message back after a while. Can you crack it? Luli asked. Yes, in a few days. Blood Fairy was sure of her words. Luli waited patiently. 5 days later, the patterns on the lid began to tremble. Then, the lid flew up. Luli flew out and found himself in a hall. The furnace was not large, only the size of a head. There must be a special space inside. This furnace looks like a piece of treasure. Luli waved his hand. He could not care less. He had to put away the furnace first. The patterns on the furnace had been solved by Blood Fairy. Therefore, Luli put it away. He looked around. Soon, he was disappointed. There was no teleportation altar here. He could not go out. Luli looked around. Eventually, he noticed the wall in front of him. That wall was strange. There were some strange reliefs on it. The Tao left by a warrior at the consummate level. Luli was excited. He could feel the Tao from the relief. Clearly, the reliefs were carved with sword. Flame Emperor must have done it himself. Luli walked to the reliefs and studied them carefully. The reliefs were long with many warriors and scenes. Luli could understand them after one glance. The reliefs recorded the growth of Flame Emperor. It was simple, but Luli could understand the path of Flame Emperor's growth. Luli nodded. This Flame Emperor is an extraordinary man. He was born in a low-level universe. Step by step, he became a warrior at the consummate level. He once controlled a universe at the 4th heaven. I think he burned several warriors at the consummate level? Chapter 3389. Emperor Yen had risen from humble beginnings. When he was at the 4th heaven, he was already a famous warrior. After he came to the immortal region, he dominated an area. Flame Emperor Mountain was where his temporary imperial residence was. Many warriors were familiar with the tomb of Flame Emperor. It was just that average warriors dared not to come in. Luli felt he was in a trance as he stared at the reliefs. He seemed to be seeing his own life journey. He had risen from humble beginnings as well. From a civilian to where he was today, the difference was that he did not reach the height of Emperor Yen. Of course, he was not dead yet. In the future, there was a possibility that he could go further. He might not be able to reach the absolute completion, but it was possible that he could become a warrior that was infinitely close to it. The more he looked, the more confused he became. He remembered when he was young, the 9 universes, the divinity, the 2nd heaven, the 3rd heaven, and many things that happened over the years. There seemed to be some kind of magic in the relief. Unconsciously, Luli was immersed in memories and emotions. This place was like a mirror, a crystal of memory. He saw the way he came. Luli was not only reminiscing about the past. Vaguely, he felt a strange Taoist rhythm. He didn't think too much. He stood in front of the reliefs and began to cultivate. 2 months had passed. Luli was still in there. He had sensed something strange about him. It was vicissitudes, sorrow, and desolation. 4 months had passed. Lu Li's breaths had stabilized. He was like a withered tree, an old man with one foot in the grave. His breath of life was weakening as well. He could die at any moment. 6 months had passed. Lu Li's breath of life was gone. He had turned into a statue. This was an extremely strange situation. A martial artist was comprehending some kind of Tao charm, but his life aura actually disappeared? If this matter was spread out, no martial artist would believe it, right? It was not only his appearance. Lu Li felt the same way. He had been studying for such a long time. Somehow, he felt that everything in the world was empty and boring. How glorious was Emperor Yin! How powerful was he! How domineering was he! The Lord of the Fourth Heaven Realm, the Overlord of a region, the expert of the Great Perfection Realm, was he not ashes to ashes now? He didn't know why he had such a feeling. He just felt that life was boring, and the life force in his body was slowly disappearing. This was also the reason why he had turned into a stone statue. After another 2 months, Lu Li had turned into a statue. There was no longer any qi and energy coming from him. If an expert were to check on him, they would discover that his corporeal body had lost all signs of life, and his soul had also fallen silent. Blood Fairy was very anxious. Not only her, but also the ghost Taoist. They all had a spiritual connection with Lu Li. Therefore, they could tell that Lu Li's breath of life was weakening. Blood Fairy tried. She kept sending messages to Lu Li, but Lu Li did not respond. It's over, it's over. Inside Lu Li's interspatial artifact, the ghost Taoist was pacing up and down. He sensed that Lu Li's life was getting weaker and that Lu Li's soul was getting quieter and quieter. He was Lu Li's soul slave. If Lu Li died, then so would he. What happened? Zishi asked curiously. Did something happen to Brother Lu? Yes. The ghost Taoist told her what he had sensed, and a trace of seriousness appeared on Zishi's little face. If Lu Li died, so would the ghost Taoist. She would be trapped in the interspatial artifact for the rest of her life and die of old age. Unless she could figure out a way to refine the interspatial artifact or improve her realm, she could destroy the interspatial artifact directly and survive in the twisting space. The ghost Taoist was anxious, but there was nothing he could do. Zishi was helpless as well. They could not leave even if they tried. They could only pray that Lu Li would be fine. Another 2 months passed. The ghost Taoist had lost all hope. Lu Li's soul was getting weaker and weaker, almost indiscernible. Today, the ghost Taoist suddenly sensed that Lu Li's soul was getting stronger and stronger, and so was Lu Li's life force. Blood Fairy was overjoyed. Lu Li had come back to life. His life force was growing at a rapid speed, and his soul was waking up as well. An hour later, Lu Li opened his eyes. Phew, phew. He exhaled slightly and rubbed his face with lingering fear. This time, he felt he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. The Tao contained in the relief sculpture was horrifying. It affected him without him knowing and almost killed him here. The relief sculpture does not contain marks of Tao, but the Tao of Flame Emperor, Lu Li said with certainty. The relief sculpture was similar to the stone tablet he saw at the Land of Dragons. That stone tablet also contained the Tao of a powerful warrior. What is the Tao of Flame Emperor? Lu Li pondered. The Tao of life and death? The Tao of reincarnation? Or the Tao of solitude? Or the Tao of death? Lu Li began to think about it. He believed that, if he could continue, he might be able to master this Tao. But he did not because he was afraid and he did not like the Tao of Flame Emperor. Of course, the Tao of life and death could be used as a support to help Lu Li learn his own Tao. He had learned something from the Tao of Flame Emperor, which would have a great impact on his future. The Tao of life and death. In the Tao of Flame Emperor, Lu Li had seen through life and death. Flame Emperor did not die of old age. Lu Li believed he had committed suicide. Or, he wanted to use his death to verify if his Tao was correct or not. Clearly, Flame Emperor had passed away and vanished from the world. Therefore, his Tao was meaningless to Lu Li. Lu Li did not want to die yet. He had too many people to protect and too many things to do. Naturally, he would not commit suicide to prove his Tao. Therefore, at the last moment, the consciousness in the deepest part of Lu Li's soul, his desire to live, woke him up and brought him back to life. Write it down. Lu Li took out a knife and a piece of wood and began to write down the relief sculpture. He did not want to study the Tao of life and death, but he wanted to learn something from it. Now, he could carve it down. Maybe it would be helpful when he tried to prove his Tao. After spending 5 days, he had perfectly carved the relief sculpture. Although it only had the shape and not the spirit, looking at the relief sculpture could awaken some memories in his mind. When the time came to comprehend it, he would have those memories. Let's go. Lu Li did not dare to look any longer in case he was trapped. He sent a message to Zixi and the ghost Taoist. Then, he pushed open the door and went to the next level. He was on high alert, fearing that something might go wrong on the next level. After a flash of white light, Lu Li appeared in a small hall. He was overjoyed when he took a look. There were 3 corridors in the hall, and there was a teleportation altar in the corner. That might be the way out. Let's go. Making sure that the hall was not dangerous, Lu Li asked Blood Fairy to crack the teleportation altar without any hesitation. He did not want to stay here any longer. He just wanted to leave. Chapter 3390. Bing Lu was frustrated. He was the powerful warrior that went after Lu Li. After Lu Li went into the Hall of Hellfire, he went back to the ancient palace and reported to the 2 warriors at the Absolute Realm. However, the 2 warriors at the Absolute Realm didn't care, and they didn't want to destroy the tomb of Yen Emperor. For them, to destroy the tomb of Yen Emperor was a sin. The tomb of Yen Emperor was a land of treasures, a place where future generations could rise. There must be some Tao and treasures left behind by Flame Emperor. There were many such tombs in the world. This was not just a tomb. There was a great meaning behind these experts leaving behind this tomb. It was actually to leave behind an inheritance, to pass down their treasures and their Tao. They had their own families where their Tao and treasures could be passed on. They could understand those powerful warriors who had no descendant. They spent their lives pursuing the Tao with no distractions. They had no descendants, no friends. Naturally, they didn't want to die quietly. They wanted to pass on their knowledge and treasures. They didn't want to give away their Tao and treasures. Therefore, they would set up some tests. Only by passing their tests would one be able to obtain their recognition, their inheritance, and the qualifications to obtain their treasures. This actually gave future generations a lot of opportunities, giving them the opportunity to grow quickly, and also giving them the opportunity to reach the sky in a single bound. Warriors at the Absolute Realm stood at the peak of the world. Naturally, they had a different outlook. They wouldn't destroy such a land of treasures. If some powerful warriors tried to do so, they would punish them. Therefore, they didn't mind that Lu Li had entered the Hellfire region. It was his strength and luck that he could go in. Even if Lu Li had the legacy of Flame Emperor, it was Flame Emperor who had chosen Lu Li. Lu Li was just a passing warrior who had many strange skills. They didn't think it was a problem. There were thousands of strange races in the world, and warriors with their own strange skills could be found everywhere. Anyone below the Absolute Realm was a nobody. This was the pride of warriors at the Absolute Realm. They wouldn't target warriors below the Absolute Realm, and they didn't care. When Bing Lu went back to report, they didn't say anything. They just told Bing Lu to deal with it himself. Several forces were at war. They didn't have the mood to deal with a warrior at the Emperor Realm. This little martial artist did not cause any damage to the ancient palace. If many experts of the ancient palace had died in his hands, then the two Perfection Realm experts would naturally pay more attention to him. Therefore, Bing Lu could only come here alone. Not a single expert was assigned to him. Of course, he had mobilized many scouts to stand guard nearby. He thought that when Luli came out, he would try to hunt him down. It would be best if he could capture Luli, but even if he could not, he would kill Luli. It had been more than 2 years and there was no news from Luli. Bing Lu even wondered if Luli had died in there. The scouts were originally very serious about searching nearby, but after 2 years they had become lazy. Fortunately, the battles in the vicinity had temporarily stopped, and there were no signs of chaos in the vicinity. Otherwise, if the enemy came over, why would they still be waiting here? Those scouts will all die. Not only were there scouts, Bing Lu had also set up many hidden divine inscriptions in the vicinity. He was a grandmaster in the field of divine inscriptions and was ranked within the top 5 in the ancient shrine. An area with a radius of 3 million miles was filled with divine inscriptions he had set up. He believed that as soon as Luli came out, Luli would trigger his divine inscriptions by accident. By then, Bing Lu would be able to sense it. Those scouts knew his divine inscriptions very well, and they would not touch them easily. On this day, Bing Lu suddenly opened his eyes. He was like a lion that had been awoken from its slumber. His eyes were filled with a bright light as he looked towards the west. The divine inscriptions over there were triggered. Bing Lu flew up and arrived in an instant. He used psychic power to check. Sure enough, he saw a familiar figure in the distance. *T. As soon as Luli came out, he sensed a surge of powerful qi and energy coming from the distance. Luli cursed to himself. Why did he go into the tomb of Yen King? Wasn't he going in to avoid Bing Lu? Now that he was in the tomb of Yen King, he had a narrow escape. Now that he was out, the result was the same, buzzing. Though he was cursing to himself, Luli reacted quickly and went into the law realm at once. In the time for one breath, Bing Lu came over. Seeing that Luli had disappeared, Bing Lu was furious. Just one breath and he could have killed Luli. Luli had disappeared again. It would be even more difficult for Bing Lu to find Luli. He should be nearby. Bing Lu forced himself to calm down. He thought about it and began to set up nearby. He planned to build the formation of inaction and guard here for thousands of years. He would not stop until he killed or captured Luli. Luli went in and used the trace of the Great Tao. When he saw that Bing Lu was building the formation, Luli felt even more troubled. The powerful warrior was building the formation. Was he trying to trap Luli here? This powerful warrior had been after Luli for years. Clearly, he would not give up easily. If Luli stayed here, would he have to hide in the law realm for the rest of his life? No. A glint of coldness rose in Luli's eyes. After a moment, he shouted, "Kill him. I must kill this powerful warrior or I will be trapped here for the rest of my life." In the past, Luli did not have the means to kill a powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm. But now, he did. He had the black flames and the super flames generated by the law realm. The law realm absorbed some of the white, blue and black flames and merged them together. There was a dark golden flame that was more powerful than the black flames. Luli believed that even a warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm would be incinerated by the flames. Luli didn't have enough dark golden flames, so he didn't plan to use them. But he had more black flames. The law realm was slow to melt the black flames. Maybe it was because the black flames were too strong. Therefore, Luli did have a way to kill this powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm. The problem now was how to set up the formation. The flames were strong enough to burn Bing Lu. But there was a prerequisite: he had to hit Bing Lu. If he could not, the flames would be pointless even if they were 10 times stronger. Zishi. Luli remembered that pretty little girl. Zishi had a forbidden skill. Last time, she put Bing Lu in a strange state for 1 or 2 breaths. 1 or 2 breaths was enough for Lu Li to kill him. Come on. Lu Li dashed into the interspatial artifact. Zishi and the ghost Taoist were overjoyed. They gathered around him. They had thought that Lu Li was going to die. Now, they felt Lu Li was so close to them. Let's not waste time. I will explain to you what happened during this time later. Bing Lu was building the formation quickly. Lu Li dared not to dawdle. Now was the best time to kill Bing Lu. Lu Li solemnly said, "That powerful warrior is still out there. I have a way to kill him. I need your help. Distract him and create a chance for me." Chapter 3391. The formation of inaction was not easy to set up. It was a strong formation and it would take some time. Bing Lu spent an entire 4 hours and still wasn't done. The foundation and patterns were all set up. Now, the last step was to build the formation soul. This was the core of the formation of inaction, the most important part. Therefore, Bing Lu attached great importance to it. He sat on the ground with his legs crossed and began to build a connection with the formation of inaction. When the formation soul was built, the formation of inaction would be activated. By then, he would keep the formation of inaction active and trap Lu Li in this world. This time, he had made up his mind. He would not stop until he killed Lu Li. Buzzing! At this critical moment, the space suddenly fluctuated. Then, countless skeletons rushed out. As soon as these skeletons came out, they ran all over the place. Many skeletons collided with his body. He had no choice but to shatter the skeletons in the vicinity. Roar, roar! The ghost Taoist's remaining 2 trump cards, the Corpse Kings, came out. Bing Lu had shown himself. The 2 Corpse Kings roared as they dashed over. The thick stench of death caused the plants nearby to die and space to tremble. Bing Lu stopped building the formation soul of the formation of inaction. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. Was Lu Li about to make his way out? He didn't even have to build the formation of inaction. He could just kill Lu Li. Buzzing! Lu Li dashed out. He had already used the dragon transformation. 2 rays of golden light rose in his eyes. At the same time, he took out his weapon and released a move. At the same time, a huge silver dragon soared into the sky, bringing with it an unparalleled might as it attacked Bing Lu. How can the brilliance of an ant compete with the brilliance of the moon? Bing Lu sneered. He slapped at the 2 Corpse Kings and crushed them into dust. When he was about to attack Lu Li, he suddenly saw a little girl behind Lu Li. Then, the little girl's hair turned green and grew wildly, dancing in the air. Oh no! At this moment, Bing Lu sensed something was wrong. He had forgotten how horrifying the girl was. He had also forgotten that Lu Li seemed to have absorbed the flames in the tomb of Yen King. He had made a very foolish mistake. He had underestimated his enemy. Lu Li's realm was too low and he was used to thinking logically. As far as he was concerned, Lu Li only had some strange escaping abilities. He never thought that Lu Li could kill him. Even if Lu Li could absorb the flames from the tomb of Flame King, it would be impossible for him to hit Lu Li. He had forgotten about the strange little girl. Buzz! He woke up a bit too late and his eyes became misty. Qianya Zishi's strange forbidden art had caused him to fall into a strange illusion. He felt that everything in front of him had disappeared, and all around him was a dreamy starry sky. Die! Lu Li bellowed. He swung his saber again. This time, along with the saber came black flames. As soon as the flames appeared, the space around them twisted. Lu Li's saber melted into molten iron and the skeletons nearby all turned into black ash chi-chi. The black flaming saber radiance whizzed forward, arriving in front of Bing Lu in the blink of an eye. Bing Lu had already woken up, but when he opened his eyes, he saw a black flaming cloud. Ah! He felt his entire body was on fire. He watched helplessly as his skin and flesh were burnt into charcoal at a horrifying speed. He had no time to react. His physical body was almost useless. Run, Bing Lu reacted quickly. Faced with such horrifying flames, he did not think of fighting back. Instead, he wanted to run. However, most of his physical body had been destroyed. It was too late even if he wanted to run. His brain reacted fast, but his physical body could not. It was too late even if he tried to run. Buzzing Bing Lu was a smart man. In such a short time, he reacted quickly. His soul flew out from his mind, and then he ran away in a blur. He abandoned his physical body and ran away with his soul. His soul was strong. As long as he could run away, he could rebuild his physical body. After some years, he could recover his abilities. That being said, even though his soul had escaped, it was burnt by the heat. Bing Lu's soul was in pain. He was enraged. His soul was hurt as well, and one of his primary souls was hurt. More importantly, he could not nurture his soul yet. By the time he flew back, his soul would be in serious trouble. If he didn't become mentally retarded, it would be hard for him to return to his prime. There were scouts nearby, many of them. When the skeleton came out, they were all alarmed. They were waiting to see Bing Lu make a killing. Who would have thought that Lu Li would come out with such horrifying flames? Even Bing Lu could not stand it. He had to abandon his physical body. One of the scouts reacted quickly. How could he not record such a shocking event? Also, he wanted to see a powerful warrior in action so he could learn more. Therefore, he took out a memory crystal and recorded the scene. Of course, only one scout reacted this way. The others were scared out of their wit. Some of them even ran away at once. Not even a powerful warrior close to the consummate realm could stand it. If they stayed, they would die for sure. Swish, swish. The flames swept across and enveloped Bing Lu's body. His body was burnt into ashes in a fast speed. Not only his body, but all the flowers and trees nearby were burnt as well. So were the skeletons. Zishi was on fire. Luckily, Lu Li put her away at once. After the flames passed, not a blade of grass grew in an area with a radius of more than 300 miles. The land was scorched. The scorching heat twisted the space. The saber in Lu Li's hand melted into molten iron. His robe was burnt and his newly grown hair and eyebrows were burnt into ashes again. Luckily, he had a pair of leather pants of the top level of the fire family. Otherwise, he would be naked as well. Lu Li's body was not harmed by such horrifying flames. His skin didn't even turn red. Looking at the soul that was running away, Lu Li sighed. He had underestimated the reaction speed of a warrior close to the consummate realm. He had thought he could destroy Bing Lu's body and soul, but he was still one step behind. Whoosh! While Lu Li was feeling sorry, Bing Lu's soul came back at a fast speed. A furious voice was heard. Bastard, you have destroyed my body and hurt my soul. I will die with you. Bing Lu condensed his soul energy into a voice. His soul flew over in a blur. Lu Li was taken aback. Without any hesitation, Lu Li activated his realm of magic. Then, black flames whooshed out and enveloped a part of the sky around him. Bing Lu's soul was hurt. He didn't want to live anymore. He wanted to destroy Lu Li's soul with all his might. Therefore, he continued to charge forward and charged into the black flames. Before the black flames reached Lu Li, his soul was already hurt. Now that Bing Lu's soul was in the black flames, the result was predictable. Before Bing Lu's soul could reach Lu Li, it was burned into nothingness. Chapter 3392. Run! After Bing Lu's soul was burnt to ashes, the scouts in the vicinity finally woke up from their stupor and ran away in fright. Lu Li didn't go after them. How could he kill all the scouts? His mission now was to run away as far as he could. Luli changed his body shape into that of another warrior. Then he released the swift skill and his speed became horrifying. At the same time, he disguised his realm as a powerful warrior who was infinitely close to the absolute completion. Even though he only imitated the form, not the spirit. If a powerful warrior of this level were to come close, he would be noticed. Luli couldn't worry about that now. Traveling at this speed was extremely terrifying. He could maintain the swift art for an hour. If there were no accidents, the distance he could travel in this hour would be equivalent to half a month. Luli was in luck. Recently, there were no more battles nearby. Some scouts did not dare to stop him. He had traveled for an hour and covered hundreds of millions of miles. He ran into at least tens of thousands of scouts along the way and his tracks were all discovered. Therefore, after Luli deactivated the Swift, he still used secret concealment to cover millions of miles even though he was exhausted. Then, he entered the realm of magic. He didn't think too much and fell asleep right away. Powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the absolute completion of the realm of magic could not sense him. Warriors at the absolute completion would not come after him in person, would they? What was more, whether or not warriors at the absolute completion could sense him was another matter. Luli slept for 5 days. When he woke up, he sensed the surroundings. There were no powerful warriors or scouts. He rested for a while and went out. He went into stealth mode and ran toward the east. It was a smooth journey. There were no powerful warriors in front of him, and there were not many scouts. He had covered a long distance in the hour. Even if his enemies wanted to stop him, they wouldn't be so far away. The ancient temple didn't stop him because they were in big trouble. One of the scouts recorded the scene of Luli killing Binglu with a memory crystal. The scout ran away. He wanted to go back to the ancient temple, but he was unlucky. Along the way, he was killed by 2 scouts from another force. The scouts' treasure was divided between the 2 scouts. Then, the 2 scouts saw the memory crystal and recognized Binglu. The 2 scouts brought the memory crystal back. Then, the memory crystal was duplicated by tens of millions of copies and spread out at a terrifying speed. Right now, this matter was being spread throughout the nearby cities. It was not because there was an ancient palace elder in the memory crystal, but because this matter was extremely controversial and shocking. The crystal of memory recorded the scene where Luli released the black flames and burned Binglu. Then, Binglu's soul flew back and was burned again. Anyone who had seen the memory crystal would be able to feel the terror of the black flames. An expert who was infinitely close to the paragon level was actually burned to death? Furthermore, he was almost instantly incinerated. If his soul did not escape, his body and soul would have been annihilated in that instant. Luli's robe was burned, and so was his hair and beard. But how come his body was fine? Furthermore, the flames at the back were coming from his body. Many powerful warriors tried to judge Luli's realm. No matter how they looked at it, he did not look like an expert at the paragon level. There were 3 or 4 experts at the paragon level that cultivated in the fire attribute, but none of them were like Luli. Also, Luli's breath of life was very young. How could such a young expert at the paragon level be possible? If he was not an expert at the paragon level, then how could he control such powerful flames? Luli did not look like an expert that cultivated in the fire attribute. Otherwise, how could his hair and beard be burned to death? Therefore, this was very controversial. Some warriors said that Luli was actually a hidden expert at the paragon level. Some warriors refuted that he was not. Some warriors said that Luli had a treasure of the fire attribute. It was very likely to be the treasure of the Flame Emperor because the battle took place at the Flame Emperor Mountain. There were also many questions. For example, why did this expert from the ancient temple just stand there like a fool? When the black flames attacked, it was not fast. With the speed of this expert, he should be able to dodge it. Why didn't he move? As long as there was controversy and doubt, and there was a strong contrast, this matter would spread very fast. On top of that, there was a super force secretly spreading the news. The news spread faster and faster. There were two main characters in this matter. One was Lu Li and the other was Bing Lu. Lu Li was the main character in the controversy and Bing Lu was the negative example. The ancient temple was also shamed because of this. People in the nearby cities were talking about it. For example, have you heard? The ancient temple's expert that was infinitely close to the paragon level was burned to death by an emperor realm warrior? That patriarch of the ancient temple is so useless. He was burned to death by a young warrior. The impact of this matter was too great. It also shamed the ancient temple. Recently, the ancient temple had been under a lot of pressure. There were already hostile forces eyeing them covetously. As soon as this matter spread, the ancient temple became a laughingstock. Their reputation was damaged and their morale was declining. They had stopped fighting, but the two super forces nearby began to send more troops to the border. Clearly, the two forces wanted to take advantage of this matter to completely destroy the ancient temple. Therefore, the ancient palace, which originally wanted to hunt down Lu Li, didn't dare to act recklessly. Lu Li was lucky. Otherwise, there would be people chasing him everywhere. It would be difficult for him to escape. Even if he could, it wouldn't be so easy. Lu Li, on the other hand, became famous. Even though no warrior knew his name, the fact that a young human used fire to burn a powerful warrior infinitely close to the paragon level caused such a sensation that it would spread across more than half of the eastern region. Lu Li moved forward quickly. After more than half a month, he successfully left the area where the battle was going on. He released Zishi, and the Ghost Taoist was also released by him. He moved forward leisurely and asked Zishi and the Ghost Taoist to investigate. He avoided the den ahead and kept a low profile. For the next 2 months, everything went smoothly. He didn't run into anything out of the ordinary. After 2 months, Lu Li ran into some trouble. There were beasts going on a rampage. There were not tens of thousands of beasts, but countless. Even the weakest of the beasts were as powerful as Saint Emperors. Because Zishi was here, Lu Li was not afraid. They went through the mountains directly. Who knew how long they would have to go around? Zishi could even kill an immortal beast that was infinitely close to the paragon level. What was there to be afraid of? So many beasts and immortal beasts. Along the way, Lu Li and the Ghost Taoist were amazed. So many beasts and immortal beasts were going crazy. Not only were they attacking warriors nearby, but they were also fighting with each other. Why are these beasts and immortal beasts going crazy? Lu Li couldn't figure it out. Along the way, he rarely saw beasts and immortal beasts going on a rampage in the immortal region. Basically, they stayed in their own territories. He had never seen beasts running around the world. P.S. Chapter 4 tomorrow. Third Master. Chapter 3393. Everything had a cause and effect. It would not happen for no reason. There must be a reason for the beasts and immortal beasts to go on a rampage. It was just that Lu Li could not figure it out. He was not in the mood to find out either. With Zishi leading the way, no beasts or immortal beasts could pose a threat. Immortal beasts at the eastern region were unlikely. Immortal beasts of this level were rare. There were only a few in the entire immortal region, and one of them had become the king of the eastern region. After more than 2 months, they had successfully passed through the area where beasts and immortal beasts roamed. Lu Li looked at the map and smiled. They were not far away from the city of mystic armor. If everything went well, they would arrive in 3 or 4 months. They were about to arrive at the core area of the eastern region. It should be less chaotic here. After all, they were close to the area where the king of the eastern region lived. Lu Li prayed to himself that they would not encounter any more chaos. He did not want to be hunted down by powerful warriors that were infinitely close to the immortal beasts at the eastern region. Therefore, he kept a low profile. He did not dare to enter any of the cities along the way. He would not go near any mountains, ridges, rivers, or abysses. He knew very well that the more dangerous a place was, the more likely it was for an old demon to hide. This was especially true for places with rich heaven and earth spiritual chi. He had long since avoided those places. The hiding places of supreme experts were definitely places with dense spiritual chi of heaven and earth, or dark and terrifying places. They wouldn't bother hiding in ordinary small mountain ranges, so they wouldn't be interested at all. With this in mind, Lu Li's journey had been smooth. He had run into some warriors, some beasts and some immortal beasts, but nothing dangerous had happened to him. Another 2 months later, they were very close to the city of mystic armor. Lu Li encountered another crisis. He passed by a small lake. He thought that there was nothing in the lake, but when he flew over the lake, the water below suddenly swept up. Immortal beasts. Lu Li was surprised. He felt he was entangled by the water. The water turned into vines, trying to entangle him and pull him down. He checked with psychic power and found a whirlpool at the bottom of the lake. There was strong energy of beasts in the whirlpool. Buzzing, Lu Li did not take the risk. He dashed into the land of Dharma and used the trace of Tao to check outside. He saw more than a dozen tentacles in the swirl, and those tentacles had eyes, more than a dozen pairs of eyes. The tentacle searched around for a while. Then, billowing green fog came out from the tentacle and enveloped the entire lake. The water in the lake tumbled and formed many small beasts that flew around, looking for Lu Li. This immortal beast is very intelligent. Lu Li was secretly surprised, but he was not in a hurry. Anyway, he would stay in there until the immortal beasts completely stopped. This immortal beast was very patient. After a long time, it finally disappeared. The whirlpool at the bottom of the lake also disappeared, and the immortal beast disappeared without a trace. Still, Lu Li didn't move. After another half a day, he came out and went into stealth mode. He flew to the distance quickly. Whoosh! As soon as Lu Li came out, the water in the lake surged up. Then the tentacle reached out as well and tried to entangle Lu Li. Lu Li made up his mind and released the swift skill. He sped up and disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. Buzzing! The tentacle disappeared. But the water in the lake formed into a strange figure in midair, a bit blurry. Looking at where Lu Li disappeared to, the figure sighed and said, "This human is weak, but he has such a strange skill. It is a pity that I didn't catch him, or he would be a great tonic." Since Lu Li had already used the swift skill, he would not stop. He used the trace of Tao to sense his surroundings. At the same time, he used the skill of transfiguration to disguise himself as a powerful warrior that was close to the consummate realm. Of course, he didn't fly in the sky. He flew close to the ground. It was a smooth journey. Lu Li had been on for an hour and he couldn't tell how far he had traveled. He stopped when he realized he was not far away from the city of mystic armor. There were more warriors and scouts here. He went into the realm of magic to rest. He was excited. He was about to arrive at the city of mystic armor. He hoped Lu Xiaobai wouldn't run around. Lu Li came out after a day's rest in the realm of magic. He hurried toward the city of mystic armor. There were many scouts and warriors of all races nearby. Lu Li avoided them carefully. He just wanted to sneak into the city and find Lu Xiaobai. He used the stealth skill so the average scouts couldn't find him. He moved forward with ease. In half a day, he was standing near the city of mystic armor. Phew, phew. He let out a long sigh. He stood on top of a small mountain and looked at the huge city from afar. His face was filled with gratification. From the chaotic star region to the southern region, across the southern region, and then across the eastern region, He had gone through a lot of hardships and narrowly escaped with his life. If he didn't have the realm of magic, the stealth skill and the swift skill, he wouldn't have made it this far. He wouldn't even be able to cross the southern region, let alone the eastern region. Fortunately, all the hardships were over. Finally, he was standing outside the city of mystic armor. He was about to see Lu Xiaobai. If it was Lu Xiaobai, then his trip would be a success. He wouldn't have to worry about the way back. He was the son of the king of the eastern region. It would be easy for him to go back to the chaotic star region. Buzzing. Lu Li's interspatial artifact glowed as he let the ghost Taoist out. Between his eyebrows glowed as Lu Li returned the ghost Taoist's seal of soul. The ghost Taoist accepted the seal of soul. He was delighted. It was good to be free again. Buzzing, Lu Li's interspatial ring glowed as he took out 5 top-level herbs he got from the tomb of Yen King. He handed them over and said, "Ghost Taoist, you have lost many corpse kings along the way. These are your compensation. Okay. I have arrived at the city of mystic armor. I will give you back your freedom. You can go wherever you want." These herbs. The ghost Taoist glanced at them, and his face was immediately filled with shock. He had lived for so many years, and he could be considered to have seen many things, but he had never seen such old super-divine medicines. These 5 divine medicines could be said to be priceless. "Thank you, Master." Out of habit, the ghost Taoist addressed Lu Li as Master. Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Okay, you can go now." "Thank you, Lord." The ghost Taoist bowed. In the immortal region, the ghost Taoist had seen too many treachery and ghosts. But it was the first time that he had seen Lu Li keep his word. Lu Li was like a clear stream. The ghost Taoist dared not to stay any longer. What if Lu Li changed his mind? The ghost Taoist vanished into the distance. Lu Li used psychic power to check the interspatial artifact. Zixi was still in a deep sleep. It would be several months before she could wake up. He thought for a while and then changed his appearance. He disguised himself as a middle-stage Saint King and walked toward the gate of the city of mystic armor. There was a team of warriors at the gate. All of them were Saint King realm warriors. Lu Li was stopped at the gate. The guards asked Lu Li for a token. How could Lu Li have one? He smiled and said he wanted to buy a token with celestial stones. One of the warriors waved his hand and said, "You cannot buy tokens. You cannot enter without a token. Go away or else don't blame us for being rude." Lu Li was surprised. If he could not buy tokens with celestial stones, then how would the tokens be distributed? He had come such a long way and could not even enter the city of mystic armor. Wouldn't it be a waste of effort? Chapter 3394. Lu Li was not worried even if he could not get in. He believed that as long as there was light in the world, there would be darkness. As long as he had celestial stones, he could buy a token to enter the city. The immortal region was not the real immortal region. It was darker here than the chaotic star region, so there must be black markets nearby. Lu Li left and sneaked around nearby. If he really couldn't do it, he would rob a warrior and get his token to go in. Of course, if he could, it would be better. Lu Li didn't want to get into trouble. He had to be sure whether Lu Xiaobai was Little White or not. If it were not for Little White, not even the Almighty God could save him if he messed around in the city of mystic armor. Lu Li was not in a hurry now that he had arrived at the city of mystic armor. He wandered around the area, and it only took him 3 days to find a black market. There was a hidden castle in the middle of a mountain. There were martial artists going in and out of this place. Therefore, this was either a secret branch of a force or a black market. Buzzing. Lu Li revealed himself and walked toward the castle. The guards hiding outside showed themselves and stopped him. A black-robed warrior asked, "What is it?" Luli was more confident now that they were not being guarded. He said, "Is this a chamber of commerce? I want to buy something." The black-robed warrior said, "What are you looking for?" Luli smiled and said, "I have plenty of celestial stones. What I want to buy will depend on what you sell here." "That will be easy." The black-robed warrior smiled and said, "As long as you have celestial stones, we will be able to satisfy you. This way, please." Luli followed him in and stepped into a secret door. Inside was a splendid hall with many warriors, and saint emperors were everywhere. There were many shops and some warriors had set up stalls. This chamber of commerce must have their own items to sell. They also provided a place for other warriors to do business here, and they would charge handling fees. Luli wandered around. There were only some elixirs, materials, and treasures. He was not here to buy them. He wandered around and entered a shop. There were no goods on display here. There was only an old man sitting with his legs crossed. "What do you want?" the old man asked politely. Luli asked, "I want to buy something that cannot be sold openly. Do you have it?" "Hee." The old man smiled gently. He got up and walked inside. Luli followed him. After the old man entered, he activated the divine imprint and inquired, "Sir, what do you want? Feel free to state it clearly. I specialize in selling treasures that cannot be found in the market." "The token to enter the mystic armor city." Luli came straight to the point. The old man frowned, shook his head and said, "This is not easy. Every token has a corresponding soul chi and energy. If you take another martial artist's token, you will be immediately discovered when you enter the city, and then you will be killed." Luli asked in confusion, "Why is the mystic armor city so strict? The other cities aren't like this." "This is an order from the young master himself." The old man explained, "Some time ago, young master often went to war, so the enemy sneaked in many scouts and spies, and they even wreaked havoc in the city. This made the young lord very angry, and he ordered that ordinary warriors were not allowed to enter the city. Those with the token are all from the young lord's bloodline. Those without the token are not allowed to enter." "Young lord, are you Lu Xiaobai?" Luli asked with curiosity. The old man's expression darkened. He said in a cold voice, "Please show some respect to our young lord. He is the only son of the king of the eastern region. He himself is very powerful. He is the young lord of the eastern region, the future king. If you don't respect our young lord, then please get out." "Sorry." Luli cupped his fists and said, "I don't mean to be disrespectful. I have no other intentions in coming to the city. I just want to go in and see an old friend. How many celestial stones do you need? Just tell me." 500 billion. The old man said bluntly. "Also, you can only stay in there for a month. You must come out in a month because the token can only last for a month. Without the token, you will be killed." "A month?" Luli looked awful. 500 billion was not a big deal, but it was only for a month. What if he couldn't see Little White in a month? Wouldn't the 500 billion celestial stones be wasted? Okay. Luli sighed. So be it. He had to go into the city or else he wouldn't have the chance. After the discussion, Luli paid the 200 billion celestial stones in advance. The old man asked Luli to wait. They would send professional warriors to make tokens, and they would need Luli's soul and chi. Taking advantage of the time, Luli asked, "Do you have a portrait of Lord Lu Xiaobai? This humble servant greatly admires Lord Lu and would like to see his heroic bearing." "No." A glint of coldness rose in the old man's eyes and he said, "Are you a spy? Did you come to the city of mystic armor to gather information?" "Ha ha, you must be joking." Luli shrugged and said, "I think for Lord Lu's enemies, these portraits and specific information must be very detailed. Do we need to gather information about this?" The old man thought Luli's words made sense. He snorted and said, Young Lord is one of our most respected warriors, so we don't want you to ask too much about him. If you are in the city and you ask about him like this, I promise you that you won't live for more than one day." Lu Li was troubled. He wanted to find out about Lu Xiaobai to make sure if he was Little White. If he could confirm that Lu Xiaobai was Little White, he would fly above the city and shout that Little White had come out. Lu Xiaobai must have a high prestige. All the warriors in his territory respected him, and they loved him from the bottom of their hearts. It would be difficult to find out more about him. Lu Li had to go into the city and see if he could meet him. Lu Li believed that as long as he could meet Lu Xiaobai, he could be sure that it was Little White. Little White had been with him for many years and he was so familiar with its qi and qi. Lu Li believed that as long as it was Little White, it would be able to recognize him. Lu Li didn't ask any more questions, for fear that the old man might misunderstand and refuse to give him the token to enter the city. Lu Li sat here with his legs crossed. After half a day, a warrior came in and threw a token to Lu Li. The old man told Lu Li to dissolve the token so that it would have Lu Li's qi and qi. Okay. After Lu Li dissolved the token, the old man said, "You can only stay in there for a month. If you don't come out after a month, you will be courting death. What's worse, we will report you." Okay. Lu Li paid the rest of the celestial stones. The old man warned him again, "Don't act recklessly in the city and don't go out to ask for information. Otherwise, you will face the consequences." Okay. Lu Li nodded and left. After he left, the old man called over a warrior and said, "Go and tell Lord Lu in the city to keep an eye on this punk. If he does anything rash, kill him right away." Chapter 3395. The city of mystic armor was large. It was not a newly built city. It had been here for many years, and was only changed into a city of mystic armor in recent years. This was the second largest city nearby. The largest city was the one where the king of the east lived. Lu Li walked into the city of mystic armor with the token in his hand. It was a lively place with many warriors of different races. But most of them were monsters, which were transformed from monsters and immortal beasts. Many monsters and immortal beasts had intelligence. When they reached a certain level of cultivation, they could transform. It was just that many monsters were unwilling to do so. The king of the east was an immortal beast, so naturally, there were more monsters at the eastern region. Many of them came from afar to serve the king of the east. How many immortal beasts were there in the immortal region? A portion of immortal beasts did not have spiritual intelligence, but many immortal beasts did. Therefore, the eastern region as a whole was powerful and chaotic. With so many powerful warriors, it was hard not to be chaotic. There are so many powerful warriors that are infinitely close to the complete completion. Lu Li walked around in the city and found that there were so many powerful warriors in the city. He could run into one at any time. Also, these powerful warriors did not seem to be of high status in the city. No wonder Lu Xiaobai was so arrogant and started wars everywhere. There were so many powerful warriors working for him. Lu Li met many immortal beasts along the way. But most of them had no intelligence. More than half of the intelligent ones might have come to serve here. Lu Li was a bit worried after he walked around. Even though he had entered the city, he found another city inside, the inner city. Lu Xiaobai was living in the inner city. It was very likely that those who were not Lu Xiaobai's family could not enter the inner city. There were more guards at the gate of the inner city. There must be many powerful warriors inside. If Lu Li dared to break in, he would be killed before he could say a word. Let me get some information first. Lu Li went to the biggest tavern in the city. He sat on the first floor and ordered some wine and food. He eavesdropped on the conversations of warriors in the tavern. Usually, a restaurant was the easiest place to get information. Lu Li used to like to bribe the waiters and maids to get information, but now, he didn't dare to do so. Lu Xiaobai's status was very high. Many martial artists here respected him. If he was discovered to be spying for information, he might be treated as a spy. At that time, he would be imprisoned or killed. And there are martial artists monitoring me. All of a sudden, Lu Li sensed something strange. He felt there was a faintly discernible qi and energy passing by him. Either a warrior had noticed him or he was being watched. He didn't dare to act recklessly. So be it. He didn't do anything bad anyway. Even if a martial artist wanted to do something to him, they probably wouldn't dare to act recklessly in the city. After all, it was forbidden to use force in the city. Otherwise, no matter who it was, they would be killed. Have you heard? What about the ancient temple? Are you talking about the young human who can breathe fire? The young human who incinerated the ancient palace's elder? Yes. According to reliable information, that young human seems to have come to our place? It is said that this man is the descendant of a super-old demon, a malefic star. At such a young age, he has been killing his way around. The ancient palace didn't provoke him, but he killed a powerful warrior. Yes. It is said that the ancient palace has given him a title, Fire Demon. He is less than 5,000 years old, but his combat ability is stronger than warriors who are close to the perfect realm. It is said that he may become the youngest perfect realm warrior in history. Bullshit Fire Demon. How can he be compared with our young master? Our young master is the most abnormal genius. He is destined to rule the world in the future. Yes. If this fire demon dares to come to the Mystic Armor City, I will eat him alive. It was noisy in the tavern. Several groups of warriors were arguing. Lu Li touched his nose, feeling a bit embarrassed after listening for a while. He was here to get some information about Lu Xiaobai. He didn't expect that there was gossip about him here. There was information about Lu Xiaobai. Lu Li listened patiently. As long as it was related to Lu Xiaobai, he would remember it without missing a word. Unfortunately, there was not much to talk about here. It seemed that no one dared to talk about Lu Xiaobai. Even if some warriors mentioned Lu Xiaobai, it was just words of respect and flattery. Nothing useful could be heard. Lu Li sat here for 3 days. He ordered dozens of bottles of fine wine and ate tens of millions of celestial stones worth of food. More and more customers came to the restaurant. Lu Li didn't move. He just listened to them. He heard a lot about Lu Xiaobai, but it was not of much use. It couldn't prove anything. But he did get some information. First of all, Lu Xiaobai was a genius, a peerless genius. His combat ability was stronger than the average warriors who were close to the perfect realm. He had killed more than a dozen warriors who were close to the perfect realm since he started out. Secondly, Lu Xiaobai was young and arrogant. He liked to stir up trouble. But he could win every time because there were too many powerful warriors at the eastern region. Lu Xiaobai himself was strong as well. He had the powerful king of the eastern region behind him. Average warriors at the perfect realm didn't dare to mess with him. Warriors who were close to the perfect realm couldn't kill him. Thirdly, Lu Xiaobai had been challenging the son of the king of the northern region recently. Several forces under his command were fighting fiercely. Lu Xiaobai went there as well. He seemed to have gained something from the fight, so he came back to closed-door cultivation. He was still in closed-door cultivation. Apart from these 3 points, Lu Li didn't receive any other useful information. Some of the information was meaningless. For example, Lu Xiaobai was very handsome. Many young ladies of big families were chasing after him. Or Lu Xiaobai never showed any affection to those girls. The demon race could all transform, so how difficult would it be to become more handsome? Lu Xiaobai was the only son of the king of the eastern region. He had a high status. Even if he was ugly, young ladies of big families would chase after him, not to mention that he was handsome. Therefore, these pieces of information were meaningless. Luli had a headache. Lu Xiaobai seemed to be in closed-door cultivation? When would this seclusion end? What if he was in closed-door cultivation for a few years? Could it be that he had been waiting in the city all along? How could he have so many celestial stones to spend? He definitely couldn't enter the inner city of Xiaobai. With the current information, he couldn't confirm that Lu Xiaobai was Xiaobai, so he didn't dare to barge in. He could only continue to stay in the restaurant and continue to gather information. A month passed by quickly. Luli had been in the tavern for a month, but he didn't gain much. It could be confirmed that Lu Xiaobai was indeed in closed-door training, and it was very likely that he would not come out in a short period of time. This was because Lu Xiaobai had only been in closed-door training for a few years. Under normal circumstances, he would have been in closed-door training for at least 10 years. I can only wait outside. Luli sighed helplessly. He dared not to act rashly. Lu Xiaobai's men were ruthless. Nothing he said would work. He couldn't enter the inner city, so he couldn't see Lu Xiaobai. If he couldn't see Lu Xiaobai, he couldn't be sure if it was Xiaobai, so he didn't dare to act recklessly. All he could do now was wait outside the city, wait for Lu Xiaobai to wake up, and wait for him to leave the city. As long as Lu Xiaobai went out of the city, he could meet him and confirm that he was Xiaobai, then everything else would be easy. Chapter 3396. Luli left the city. There were many scouts and warriors outside the city. Luli couldn't just hide outside the city. He couldn't hide all the time, could he? If he didn't, then he would be discovered by the scouts, which would cause a lot of trouble. He couldn't go into the magic realm either. If he cultivated in there, he wouldn't know what was going on outside. What if Lu Xiaobai left the city of mystic armor after a few years of closed-door cultivation? Therefore, Luli decided to go to the black market. There were many rooms there. He could rent a room as long as he spent some celestial stones. What kind of business couldn't he do? Luli flew over and soon arrived at the hidden castle. He found the old man. Luli could come out safely because he didn't mess around in the city. The old man had already reported to the leader in the city, who arranged a warrior to watch over Luli. Therefore, the old man's attitude towards Luli was not so bad. After Luli made his intentions clear, the old man thought about it and said, "Sir, you are not renting a house. You need us to protect you for some time. You will be absolutely safe here. Of course, the rent will not be cheap. Name your price." Luli had some celestial stones with him, so he didn't mind. It was true that he couldn't rent a room here. He could enjoy their protection and wouldn't be disturbed by the outside world. "How long do you want to stay?" the old man asked. Luli was hesitating. The old man did some calculations and said, "No matter how long you want to stay, we will calculate it on a yearly basis. 10 billion celestial stones per year. What do you think?" "No problem." Luli was straightforward. He couldn't stay for long and Lu Xiaobai couldn't stay in closed-door cultivation forever. Based on what Luli knew, Lu Xiaobai was not a man who could sit still. He would come out after a few years. Luli paid for 2 years. The old man was about to give Luli a room when Luli touched his nose and said, "Can you give me some information? I can give you 10 billion celestial stones." The old man looked at him and asked, "What information?" "I will be honest with you," Luli said with a straight face. "I am entrusted by my race to come and visit Lord Lu Xiaobai. So, when you come out from cultivation, please let me know. I will go to the city to deliver the invitation card to you." The old man pulled a long face and a glint of coldness rose in his eyes. He stared at Luli for a moment. Seeing that Luli's expressions didn't change, the old man nodded and said, "Okay. But I advise you not to mess around in the city of mystic armor. I can kill you easily. Luli said with a smile, you have seen my realm. Any one of you can kill me with my abilities. Do I dare to do anything evil? What evil could I do? The old man thought about it and agreed. He arranged a warrior to take Luli down. Luli was taken to a small side chamber. The warrior said, Chief Steward Ching said that, Lord, please rest here and don't wander around. If you trespass into our forbidden area, it will be hard to talk to you. Don't worry. Luli nodded and said, I will cultivate here. I won't go anywhere. The warrior left. Luli activated the divine glyphs in the room and used psychic power to check. Zishi hadn't woken up yet. Luli left her alone and closed his eyes to cultivate and rest. Soon, more than 4 months had passed. There was no news from outside. Luli stopped to rest for a while. He used psychic power to check and found that Zishi had woken up. Buzzing. He let Zishi out. She hugged him happily and said, Brother Lu, what is going on? Did you kill that powerful warrior? Yes. Luli nodded. He patted Zishi's head and said, Don't worry. We are safe now. We are near the city of mystic armor. City of mystic armor? Zishi took out the map and looked at it. She said with confusion, Brother Lu, are you going to stay here? I can't leave for now. Luli looked at the pitiful Zishi. He couldn't help but ask, Where are you going? Zishi pointed to a mountain on the map and said, If I am right, this is where I want to go. There is still some distance from the city of mystic armor. Previously, Luli and Zishi had an agreement that they would travel together. Zishi didn't say that Luli had to take her to the place she wanted to go. Now that Luli had arrived at his destination, they should have parted ways under normal circumstances. Without Luli's protection, it was unlikely that Zishi could survive to get to the place she wanted to go from the city of mystic armor. Mount of Ghosts. Luli looked at the map. It was some distance from the city of mystic armor. At a normal speed, it would take him at least half a year to get there. Half a year was not a big deal. It would only take him a year to go back and forth. Lu Xiaobai might not come out from his closed-door cultivation. Luli was afraid that something would go wrong on the way. If he was trapped for hundreds of years, not to mention being killed, it would be troublesome. Therefore, he thought for a while and said, How about you wait here? When I see the person I want to see, I will go with you. If Lu Xiaobai was Lu Xiaobai, then there would be no problem. If Lu Xiaobai was not Lu Xiaobai, then there was no point for Luli to stay here. There was no harm in going with Zishi. Zishi was touched and said, Brother Lu, how long will it take? Luli answered, A year and a half at least, 3 to 5 years at most. Okay. Zishi didn't hesitate. She would wait for a few years because it would be too dangerous for her to go alone. Only Luli could take her there. She was too weak, and she was just a little girl. Once she was in danger, she might be captured and then sold as a commodity. Okay, go ahead with your closed-door cultivation. Luli didn't mind Zishi anymore. He told her to stay here and not to run around. Zishi sat next to Luli and cultivated. Luli didn't go out either. Anyway, when Lu Xiaobai came out, the steward outside would inform him. Luli had been staying here, which made the stewards of the castle let down their guard a little. However, Chief Steward Ching had arranged a warrior to keep an eye on Luli in case he would act recklessly. Luli continued to refine his body and cultivate at the same time, trying to understand Daos. He had learned 2 types of Daos, the Great Heaven Tao of Ancestor, Hao, and the Life and Death Tao of Yin Emperor. Luli had only scratched the surface of the 2 Daos. He didn't want to learn them completely. He felt neither was suitable for him. He wanted to learn from the 2 Daos and see if he could learn a Tao that belonged to him. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 8 months had passed. Luli had been cultivating in there for a year. He stopped and went out to find the guard who was watching him and asked some questions. Lu Xiaobai was still in closed-door cultivation. Luli had to go back to cultivate. Zishi had been cultivating as well, but her realm didn't improve. She was still at the initial stage of the Emperor realm. After more than half a year of closed-door cultivation, Luli was finally woken up. A warrior walked in. First, he looked at Zishi with curiosity and then said with a straight face, "Chief Steward Cheng asked me to inform you that young master is out of closed-door cultivation." P.S. Chapter 4. M. Chapter 3397. Lu Xiaobai had come out from cultivation. Luli was excited. He put away Zishi and walked out. He found Chief Steward Cheng and asked for another token to enter the city. Chief Steward Cheng didn't mind that he could earn celestial stones. He had a token made for Luli and repeatedly told Luli not to act recklessly. He said that he would inform the guards in the city to keep an eye on Luli. If Luli acted recklessly, the guards would not show him any mercy and would kill him right away. Luli knew that Chief Steward Cheng would not be an alarmist. He and Luli were not friends. They were only partners. What could Luli do to him? Luli didn't mind. He didn't want to act recklessly. After the token was made, he left the castle and entered the city. As soon as he entered the city, he sensed that some warriors were watching him. He didn't mind and walked toward the inner city. There were 10 Saint Kings guarding at the gate of the inner city. The leader was at the later stage of the Saint King realm. Seeing Luli coming, the 10 Saint Kings put up their guard and looked at Luli. At the moment, Luli also sensed that a warrior who was almost at the peak of the Saint King realm was looking at him. If he dared to do anything, he would be killed right away. "Stop!" a Saint King shouted. Luli stopped at the gate. He didn't bow. Instead, he said with pride, "I am from the Cloud King city at the southern border. By order of my master, I am here to see Lord Lu Xiaobai. I have something to discuss with him. Please let him know." Ha ha ha. Lu Li's words didn't catch the attention of the 10 Saint Kings. Instead, some of them laughed as if they were watching a monkey dancing. "Ridiculous. Piss off." A Saint King scolded, "Is this a place where you can come? From the Cloud King city? Don't tell me you are a patriarch of the Yun family. Scram as far as you can or I'll kill you." Luli didn't show any sign of weakness. He snorted, "I am not a patriarch of the Yun family, but I am not a nobody either. If I want to kill you, I can do it with a flick of my fingers." Ha ha ha. The 10 Saint Kings didn't burst into anger. Instead, they laughed. Luli didn't use the skill of transfiguration. Instead, he showed his original appearance, which was still at the Emperor realm. He was hoping to attract Lu Xiaobai's attention. When the time came, as long as his divine will locked onto him, Lu Xiaobai would definitely recognize him if he was Xiaobai. The late Saint King sneered, "I'll stand right here. If you can kill me, I'll get them to let you into the inner city. What do you think?" Swish, swish, swish. The commotion here had attracted the attention of many martial artists. Some martial artists walked over while many of them used their spiritual wills to probe. Luli noticed that more psychic powers were coming from the inner city. They were all powerful warriors. Unfortunately, there was no aura he was familiar with, so Lu Xiaobai did not probe with his divine sense. Luli sneered and shouted, "Can violence be used in the city? If I kill you, won't the experts in your city be furious?" Come, come, come. The late Saint King curled his finger. "As long as you can kill me, we can guarantee that you can enter the inner city. The experts in the city definitely won't mind." "I don't believe you," Luli said with pride. "If any big shot from the inner city gives me a guarantee, I will do it. Also, if I can't kill you, I am willing to die. Deal?" Lu Li's words caused an uproar. Was Lu Li tired of living? A great emperor dared to challenge a late Saint King? If Lu Li didn't want to die, then he must have something up his sleeves. The smiles on the 10 Saint Kings' faces froze. However, the words had been spoken and many warriors in the city were paying attention. How could this late Saint King back down? The problem was that Lu Li needed a powerful warrior to guarantee it. Was he going to ask a powerful warrior to guarantee it? He snorted and said, "Why do I need a guarantee? You and I can fight outside the city. If you can kill me, we will let you into the inner city." Okay. Lu Li shouted and strode out of the city. The Saint King thought about it and rushed out. The guards of the inner city came out with several Saint Kings. Many warriors in the city came out to watch. It was rare for a great emperor to challenge a late Saint King, especially when this great emperor was from the Cloud King city. They had nothing to do in the city anyway. They might as well go out and watch a circus. A group of warriors rushed out. Soon, tens of thousands of warriors gathered outside the city. There were also scouts outside who saw the situation and came over. The late Saint King stood proudly in the air. He looked at Lu Li coldly and said, "I will let you attack 3 times first. Otherwise, people will say that the Mystic Armor City is bullying you." Okay. Lu Li smiled. He then flew up and slowly flew toward the late Saint King. The late Saint King didn't dodge. An earthen yellow halo lit up around him, and he stood proudly in the air. He looked a little like a lion watching a lamb charge at him with its horns on its head. This was what the countless warriors nearby felt. They felt like they were watching a show, a monkey's show. Lu Li flew slowly. He didn't stop when he was 300 meters away from the late Saint King. He didn't attack either. He just flew forward. The nearby cultivators blinked their eyes in embarrassment. Was Lu Li going to punch a late Saint King in the chest like a shrew? The late Saint King didn't care. He looked at Lu Li with a smile. He was just waiting for Lu Li to attack. Let alone 300 meters. He could easily dodge even if Lu Li was 3 meters away. 800 meters, 150 meters, 30 meters. Lu Li was already very close. He was about to reach the late Saint King in the next second. He finally moved at this moment. 2 streaks of light lit up in his eyes before disappearing with a flash. Afterward, Lu Li moved with a flash and the divine liquid of destruction lit up in his hand. He gently placed it outside the yellow circle of light. Bang! The yellow halo exploded and the divine liquid of destruction in Lu Li's hand disappeared. He grabbed the late Saint King's neck and his hand glowed with a faint black light. If he moved, the Saint King's neck would shatter. Ugh! Lu Li's attack only lasted for a second. Before many warriors could react, Lu Li's hand was already on the Saint King's neck. The late Saint King also returned to his senses at this moment. He felt the fatal danger from the hand and his expression changed drastically. "Don't move." Lu Li's icy voice rang out. He said, "Since I can break through your defenses easily, I can obviously crush your neck and crush your head. Don't doubt my battle prowess. I've killed many warriors at your level. I've even killed one that was infinitely close to great perfection." What? An uproar immediately broke out in the surroundings. If Lu Li had not shown this earlier, they probably would have thought that he was joking. Now, however, they all felt that it was true. An Emperor Realm warrior could kill a late Saint King in a head-on confrontation. It was not impossible for him to kill an expert that was infinitely close to great perfection. Swish! Lu Li retreated 3 kilometers and stood in the air. Afterward, black flames emerged from his body. The terrifying heat wave immediately caused the surrounding warriors to retreat in fright. Their eyes were filled with shock as if they had seen a ghost. Lu Li looked around and said proudly, "Do I have the right to enter the inner city? Do I have the right to see Lord Lu Xiaobai?" Chapter 3398. Black flames. Many saint emperors were scared. Flames of fatal danger rose up in their hearts. All the warriors remembered a rumor they heard a while ago, about a powerful warrior. Fire demon. Seeing these flames, many martial artists were certain that the rumors were true. These flames had no problem incinerating powerhouses that were infinitely close to the great perfection realm. There were some hidden warriors that were close to the perfect realm. They felt death would be the only outcome if they were hit by the flame. Luli had the ability to kill a warrior that was close to the perfect realm, but that didn't mean he had the right to meet Lu Xiaobai. At this moment, when he shouted such words, coupled with the previous bet, it did have a different kind of momentum. Unfortunately, the latter stage Saint Emperor could not make the decision. He didn't even have the right to let Luli into the inner city. What if Luli was an assassin sent by the enemy to kill Lu Xiaobai with the black flames? The latter stage Saint Emperor's face turned pale. He felt he was not only a clown but also in a dilemma. He didn't know what to do. Buzzing. At this moment, the air rippled and a brown-bearded old man appeared. With his appearance, the late Saint King and many other soldiers immediately dropped to one knee and called out, "We greet Sir Yu. This Lord Yu must be an immortal beast because of his might." Luli and Lord Yu looked at each other. Lord Yu said, "Are you from the Cloud King City? What can I do for you to meet our young master?" Luli thought about it and said, "Please wait a moment." He took out a brush and paper and started to draw on it. His drawing skills were not bad. He first drew a little beast. It was drawn very vividly, exactly the same as Xiao Bai. Then he began to draw the background, which was the Dilong tribe. He also drew a portrait of himself and Lu Ling. In the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, Luli finished the drawing. It was crude and the details were not perfect, but people could still recognize him and Little White. Luli put away the drawing into a box and threw it to Lord Yu. "Please give this to Lord Lu Xiaobai. He will understand when he sees it and he will let me in." Lord Yu didn't go in right away. He asked, "Do you know our young master?" Luli was 80% sure that Lu Xiaobai was Lu Xiaobai. He nodded and said, "Lu Xiaobai and I are old acquaintances and good friends. Once he sees the box, he will naturally come out and recognize me." "All right." Lord Yu nodded and said, "I hope that you won't make a fool out of this king. Otherwise, if this young lord gets angry, this king can only look for trouble with you." Luli nodded slightly. Lord Yu flew in at once. The group of martial artists outside began to whisper to each other. They had never heard of Lu Xiaobai having any friends. This fire demon had only recently become famous. How could he have a friendship with Lu Xiaobai? More importantly, Luli said he was from the Cloud King City. The eastern region and the southern region were hostile. When the eastern region invaded the southern region, the Cloud King City was almost flattened. Many powerful warriors of the Yun family were killed. How could Lu Xiaobai be friends with warriors of the Yun family? All the experts waited silently for Lu Xiaobai's response. After Lord Yu entered, he waited for a full hour, but there was no news. Luli was confused. The discussion of the warriors outside was getting louder. They looked at Luli unkindly. If Luli and Lu Xiaobai were friends, then Lord Yu would have come out by now. Luli's mind was weighed down. If Lu Xiaobai was Little White, he would have come out as soon as he saw Luli's scroll. Why was there no response after an hour? Could it be that Lu Xiaobai was not Little White? Was he wrong? While Luli was wondering, a ray of light flew over. Lord Yu came out. He looked at Luli emotionlessly and said, "I am sorry. Our young lord doesn't want to see you. Please leave." Luli was shocked. He still couldn't believe it. Lu Xiaobai didn't want to see him? Then Lu Xiaobai was not Little White. Luli's previous guesses were all wrong. If he was not Little White, then why was his surname Lu? Why was he called Little White? Why was this place called the Mystic Armor City? Luli suddenly felt the world was spinning. He had gone through so much trouble to get to the eastern region only to end up like this. How could he be reconciled to this? He even wanted to rush into the city and meet this Lu Xiaobai in person so that he could give up. I told you. How can a warrior of the Yun family know our young lord? Does he have the right? Do you know our young lord? What is he? How dare he say he knows our young lord? Is he trying to flatter himself? That's right. I suggest we kill this arrogant man. Who does he think he is to swagger around at the Mystic Armor City? Sarcasm and sarcasm came from all directions. Many warriors even had ferocious looks in their eyes. If Lord Yu gave the order, all of them would swarm up and chop Lu Li into pieces. Lord Yu waved his hand to tell the warriors to calm down. He looked at Lu Li and said, "Sir, please go back. You are not welcome at the Mystic Armor City." Lord Yu's tone became cold. His meaning was clear. If Lu Li continued to pester them endlessly, they would take action. The other escorts looked at him coldly as well. Lu Li exhaled, bowed and said, "Lord Yu, can you give me a chance to see Lord Lu Xiaobai?" "No." Lord Yu said with certainty, "You are not welcome at the Mystic Armor City. From now on, you are not allowed to enter the Mystic Armor City. Please leave now or you will become our enemy." Buzzing, as soon as Lord Yu finished his words, many warriors nearby took out their weapons and stared at Lu Li with hostility. If Lu Li dared to say anything else, the warriors would attack him. "Fine." Lu Li forced a smile. He flew to the west in a blur and soon disappeared into the horizon. Lord Yu watched as Lu Li left. After a while, he said to a powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm nearby, "Go and monitor him. See if he is hiding nearby. If he is, drive him away." "Yes." The powerful warrior nodded and then disappeared to chase after Lu Li. However, after chasing for an hour, he lost track of Lu Li. Lu Li was not fast. The powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm caught up with him as soon as Lu Li left. He could catch up with Lu Li easily. But now, he lost track of Lu Li? Was Lu Li a hidden powerful warrior? The powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm didn't give up. He began to search nearby and informed scouts. But after 7 or 8 days they couldn't find Lu Li. The powerful warrior had come back to report. It seemed that Lu Li had left. Lord Yu didn't say anything. He just nodded and left the warrior alone. He just told people to keep an eye on the surveillance in the city, and not to let Lu Li sneak into the city. Lu Li could kill a powerful warrior who was almost at the consummate realm, but there were many powerful warriors of this realm in the city. Even if Lu Li sneaked in, he would only be courting death. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.